It's your boy, GRC. This is Hex in the morning. I mean, this is crypto in the morning. But we might as well call it Hex in the morning because Hex is pumping when everything else is pooping. And we love to see that. This price performance to me is so classic. I mean, it's so classic, the staking function. I mean, yes, of course, there is a lot of sell pressure on Hex, of course, just like any other currency. But when those sellers dwindle and all that supply is staked, my friends, and then there's a massive airdrop. Wait, the biggest airdrop in the history of the universe. That's interesting, right? I think so too. And I think that might have some very, very bullish implications on the Hex price moving forward. Guys, today we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of liquidity providing. We want to be able to show people what liquidity providing actually is. Guys, just a FYI, I haven't provided any liquidity myself. I'm starting to because I'm going to do it just so I know what's going on. But that's not a part of my game plan moving forward. But you know what is part of my game plan? Speaking actual truth and the facts of the situation. Because the more I ask questions, the more I get flaky answers from people that have never done anything that they're actually talking about. And I'm not saying that there's Hexicans that don't have a lot of experience, but I know there's some that are very clear in detail. We talk to those guys and we know who they are. But in general, when I ask a question to the Hexican community, when I come back, I have more confusion than ever. And so on here at Crypto in the Morning, we're going to change that a little bit. Guys, we love the Hex community. I love everything about this shit. We're taking over. There's absolutely nothing that can stop us at this point. Guys, enjoy this song. I love you very much.
Young folks, you tripping on them motherfucker.
Richard Heart. Richard Heart.
Bought my Hex from the fucking start. Point one every day we mark. Bought my Hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my Hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Checking my MetaMask moving. Look at the Hex, he is mooning. Looking at why they be choosing. Peter is why they be losing. Pull chains out and they'll get me a check. He's gas up and it got me a mess. Remember the times he died collect. Hex had me eating, I'm dying in the best. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Bought my Hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my Hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart.
What's
Good.
up?
Dude, today it's been a fantastic morning. I feel like on the weekends, because I take off from working out, that I get like a lot of stuff done.
Oh, you take off? That's interesting. It's very interesting.
Well, I'm still going to do cardio. I'm probably still going to do some stretching, but I won't spend time actually in the gym. I'll just take it off from that.
It's the better way to do things. The problem with me, Sam, is I get addicted. Like I go through the waves, and you do this probably too. I get so addicted in hyper thought. Like I'm so addicted in hyper thought about what I'm going to do at the gym now, where the last 3 months I wasn't at all. But I was still working out. I was lifting every day, but I just didn't care.
So this is we're about to do the show tomorrow about fitness related stuff. But are you making progress?
Yeah, I'm up 4 pounds. I'm up 4 pounds from day one.
Dope.
And I still have definition in my abdomen, so I'm excited. Because you know how it can get sometimes.
Yep.
If you go too quick, right, Sam? If you go too quick and you bloat yourself with McDonald's and dumbass shit. Yes, I did have a blueberry muffin from McDonald's this morning and a coffee. I did, but that's my pump meal. I do that. It's like my weekend thing. It's like I go there, I get a big blueberry muffin. You know, they're just the crusty, sugary ones. Like
I haven't had one.
I know, Sam. I know, but it's like, I'm also trying to gain weight. So it's like 450 calories, dude. It helps me a lot. Trust me. When I'm at the gym, dude, that shit is circulating through my body at like, you can feel it when you don't have that dense, sugary stuff in general. When you actually eat something and you go straight to the gym, you're like your PR. Like, I was pulling so much weight today. I'm telling you, I was doing reps like this. I'll stop talking about fitness after this. I was doing straight back reps like this, rows with like 120 pounds, pretty heavy. I just started doing one fucking arm. Like I literally took one of my hands and started doing it.
Calories. The extra calories make a big difference when you go, especially when you're bulking in the gym, make a massive difference.
It's great, dude. I was literally like 70% stronger in that moment. I was just like a freaking animal. It was crazy, dude. I was aggressive at the gym today, very aggressive. I'm lucky there was no cute ladies around.
I'm down 12 pounds, so I think I'm going slightly too aggressive.
Too aggressive, dude. Too aggressive, bro. You don't want.
I'm actually increasing calories a little bit.
Yeah, don't stress your mind out because you know how it gets.
No, I'm not even. It's just too easy.
But if you're not, I know it's easy for you, but you also want to rest and be. I know you're rested, but like, you don't want to put your body through too much like overstimulate. You know that because it always comes out in the wash, at whether that's aging or like, and you know that, and you probably. Once you go through and do something so many times for so long, you just get so good. It's like it sounds like I'm being pompous, but like you just get good at shit. It's fucking like to drop body fat is relatively easy to do. People were like, dude, you can't gain 10 pounds of muscle in 90 days. I'm like, you're retarded. I'm like,
this is good.
I was like, first of all, I was 14 pounds heavier this time last year. So you got to understand that first. I was 14 pounds of pure muscle heavier than I was right now. First of all, gorilla mode, absolute gorilla I was. Okay. Real quick. I'm going to talk to the chat for a minute. GRC, you two mentioned everything was a lie in that no bodybuilder told the truth. Please tell us the alpha, AK. That's a long conversation.
I can so actually, AK, this is perfect preview for tomorrow.
Yep.
We'll have a segment. I'll share all of the details of what I'm doing. I'm taking compounds that you guys are not aware about. I'm doing shit that you guys are not aware about, but the fundamental pieces is like what you need to do. The other stuff is just like, fluff on top.
Yeah, like I always tell people, if you want to see my last natty pick I ever took, I looked better than you. You done trust me that I look better than you. I probably look better than I do now. I'm 100% serious because I was way more analytical about my micronutrients because I had to be, right? Like I had no choice.
It's like a crutch because if you use compounds, you can go eat more shitty food if you care to.
Well, I don't eat shitty food. I just eat less. I just don't eat. That's my problem. Like Sam is a research chemical, pretty much.
Yes. Okay. So AK, tune in tomorrow. Well, I'll write out.
I'll do a quick disclaimer for tomorrow before we move on. There is some things that me and Sam know about fitness that would absolutely blow your fucking cap off your head. Not all of that. You gotta understand, guys. There's nuance here. We can't explain shit over. This doesn't make sense. Me and Sam could talk to each other, but if you want help from one of us, ask us for 30 minutes of our time or an hour of our time or pay for it. But don't stop asking me these questions that would take me 90 minutes to answer in the chat, right? Like if you know me, we love the detail. But tomorrow, I say we get into a little bit of Red Pill Fitness Alpha.
Yes, 100%. There's some. I have a lot of stuff to cover for that.
But I want you to be tame. My mother watches.
No, yeah. So I will only be talking about really crazy shit tomorrow. So if you want to tune in tomorrow, 11 a.m.
Anyway, let's get into it. I want you to first give your piece, Sam. You kind of know how I feel about this and where I'm at. And we're going to be very nice today because I had a very aggressive day yesterday. So I'm trying to be way more chillax today. And let's have a chillax conversation about liquidity providing. We're not going to ask too many questions. We're going to get to the facts. But let's talk about the nuts and bolts right now, Sam. And what misconceptions, maybe, do you think personally that some people have, not the Hex community, but the average user that maybe hasn't provided liquidity doesn't understand?
The thing always comes back to like impermanent loss and just not a good understanding for impermanent loss. I had another message this morning from somebody on Instagram, and he's like, "Oh, I love TA, like technical analysis." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool, man. I don't find much value in TA. Have you ever provided liquidity?" Right? I find providing liquidity like 1,000 times more valuable than TA. And he goes on to talk about, well, no, because the impermanent loss, I don't want to lose shit. And the more you talk to people, the more you realize that people just don't have any understanding of what impermanent loss is. For anybody who's listening, you can have impermanent loss and you actually are profitable. Right? Impermanent loss is another fancy phrase for people to describe opportunity cost. When you were with your previous girlfriend, then you chose to be with her and then not to be with one of 1,000 other or 10,000 other girls, right? That's an opportunity cost. That's all that is. That's an opportunity because you chose her, not one of the other 20 million girls out there, right? Opportunity cost. If you went to McDonald's this morning, right? You got some coffee and you grabbed the muffin thing, right? That's an opportunity cost. That's a sunk cost, right? You can't bitch and complain about the $7 you spent this morning to get your coffee and stuff. It's a cost to do that you can't like get back. You already spent that money and it's done and over with. So when I think about impermanent loss is like a opportunity cost and a sunk cost put together. Except for there's no explicit cost in there other than the fees to get into the transaction.
But let's talk about why the average person, and I'm trying to get to the nuts and bolts of this, guys. The reason I'm asking these questions is for you. I know these freaking answers already. I've looked them up all morning. So, but I love asking questions that really produce value. So like, what do you think the average person that hasn't provided liquidity may be mistaken when people say they get wrecked, right? Like this, like you get wrecked, right? How does one get wrecked? One thing's first, guys. First of all, I'm not a genius. I'm just telling, is literally how it is. If you put more money than you have are willing to lose in, you have now put yourself in a position where you can get wrecked. You want to know the reason I never get wrecked? Because I always have more money. I always have another way, like, not like a fuck ton of more money, but like I make sure that I'm putting more money into the system. So, but it's again, providing liquidity gets this really bad name because people just assume that it's trading like that. But if you're providing liquidity between Hex and Maxi, that's a lot effing different than providing liquidity from Satoshi Inu and fucking Dogecoin. Okay. So stop putting them in the same category or I won't listen to you anymore. Do you understand? You know what I'm saying, Sam?
There's definitely like, opportunity cost is a cost. It's like a real cost of doing something. This show is an opportunity cost that we could be doing something else, right? We could be going to work on something else. That's a cost of doing things. So when people think about navigating their future life, the decisions they're making now are creating opportunity costs for other shit that they didn't do. So when they navigate through life, picking the things that are highest ROI to them based upon their goals and their objectives and their risk tolerance is an intelligent thing to do. So when you look at like something, I think of it in there's like 3 parts to kind of consider, right? You got to understand what the fuck it is, first of all. But you want to be okay with holding either one of these tokens if you, from the impermanent loss standpoint. Impermanent loss is, so say if you have, for example, Hex and say ETH, right? If Hex does a 10x, right? and ETH does a double or a triple, then at the end of the period of time which you were holding, which say that took place over the course of a year, that Hex did a 10x over the course of a year, right?
Right.
Awesome, fantastic gains. Now, if ETH does a triple over that year, right, and you put in LP, then you at the beginning of the year decided to put money in each one of those, recognizing that if at the end of the year Hex does that 10x, then you're going to be holding more ETH than you will Hex in your bag. But that doesn't mean it's not profitable. You can earn fees all along that way. So being okay with holding either one of those things is okay. And remember that if they change that ratio, say a year and a half, you're still providing liquidity, and a year and a half later, Hex comes in a 75% dip. Well, then what happens to your position? You have more Hex than you have.
And what happens when you have what happens when you're providing liquidity for something that's less volatile, like the Hex and Maxi, for example? Let's say that potentially stays closer in, right? You could imagine that it wouldn't go over double or under double, right? So that would be the way I think. But like, so what's the difference in rate? And I'm asking you, just, I know you might not know the specifics as the rate, but like how does the rate change in the specific? Because I'm assuming with more liquidity, with more up and down in price action, you're going to have different kind of rewards and gains, right?
Yes. Yeah. So with like, if you think of the spectrum of the bottom of like this window that I have here from each side to side as like the spectrum of potential prices that are available, and the price is like moving all over the place throughout this range, then you're going to have more. If you provide liquidity across this whole range, then you can make money across that whole range. But if you don't want to provide liquidity at the edges because you don't think that's you're like, hey, I'd rather do something else at the edges, or you want your position to be more profitable in there, you can do a concentrated position where you're only going to do it in like this third or something like that. So
okay, Sam, and then when you do that, so when you do the concentrated position, because me and you were talking about this a little bit earlier, how does that make you feel better? Because it sounds like it's almost like a hedge, right? Like you're trying to be safer in a way.
But remember, everybody's gonna. So you increase impermanent loss if you do a concentrated position. Because think about like this whole
hit harder.
And then if you're only in this much and your capital is in this much and I'm in this much, then it has to go all the way outside of here, out of the screen here, for me to be all in one asset. If you go like, this is my range, that means you're a bigger percentage of the total pool at that range. So you're more profitable. But then if the price goes outside this bound, then you're only holding one of those two assets. So
Shifty Sheep, great to see you in here. I don't know if I've ever seen you in here before. Thanks for joining in. Shifty Sheep, I like your name. Bitfinesse, thank you so much. Yeah, I think you're right on, Sam. I think you're right on this one, Sam. I totally agree with you. Can't wait to get into this more. Let me read the comments. Donner Swans of House Donner has entered the chat. Great to see you. T-Bird all over everything all the time. When you LP, you need to track the performance of the two assets. Ooh, it seems like somebody knows what they're talking about. When you LP, you need to track the performance of the two assets in the pair very closely. Ideally, you want both assets to perform excellently alongside. Yeah, so like something like for example, Sam, Ethereum and Hex. I own Ethereum and Hex. I wouldn't want to be stuck with a huge bag of Ethereum, but again, if I had to be, I would just swap it for Hex. So, because it would be, if it was one-sided either way, Hex would be high or low. So it would be just doubling back anyway. So like you're catching the bottom on one of those ends anyway. Like you always said, like you can take your profits from liquidity providing and buy the asset that you just got over leveraged on.
So now if people were doing liquidity on two coins that they didn't like, then then there's going to be some problems. Right? Because if you're like, hey, I like ETH, right, but I don't like this other thing, but it's super profitable. Well, then what happens if that's a rug pull? What happens if that's a scam, right? Because then not only you're just left with the scam coin, but then people who are scamming will pull all the liquidity out, and then you're stuck holding the scam and you can't even get out of the scam. Right? So like
you can't get out of the scam, and it could potentially lose its value altogether.
100%.
And that's so that it's different, guys. I'm trying to say this for myself and for the crowd, guys. People go into liquidity providing. I can imagine, like myself, let's say I only had $1,000 and I was a young kid and I started springing my ass onto the internet. I would go straight to Shibu, Saitama, and Doge pair because they give you 245%. And I would say, let's do it. I'd lose it. And then everyone, for the rest of the time, I'd say liquidity providing is stupid. But really, all I had to do was plug in the two assets that people actually hold long term. Because if critical mass is holding long term, you're not going to get wrecked. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the flimsiness of the blockchain itself or the project itself that is going to get you wrecked. So why don't we just think about this more logically and go to the pairs that we already have studied deeply and we trust? We're gonna invite something special on the show. One of your best buddies.
Let's go.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy.
Oh shit.
Damn, dude, you're looking lean and shit already, bro. You guys both are looking good.
Man, I'm not even back in the. I'm not even really back in the
camera to
grind.
the side.
Oh yeah.
Can you twist?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You're the
How you
good.
doing, bro? Hey, cheers. Enjoy your protein
Cheers.
shake. Enjoy your coffee, GOC. Wendy's, what's good, brother? So
What's up?
I wanted to I love your experience with LP, and I enjoy talking to you about LP. So one thing that before I want to hear your thoughts, I want to mention, because it's really, 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 really important what the person wants. Because
Absolutely. So the one thing I don't like hearing is like, I don't know if you're intentionally doing it or not, but it's like almost like underplaying opportunity cost. Because as an investor, opportunity cost is like something very, very important, right? So if I told you about Hex on day one and you ignored it to go into ETH, how much did that opportunity cost you? $1 million per $100 that you had that you were ready to invest. Like that's huge. That's huge. So opportunity cost is actually huge.
People do that with relationships. I just don't see it valuable.
Well, yeah. So there's a point where like it's not healthy to do it in hindsight, but we're talking about in the moment. So like when you're providing liquidity, that you need to be like really thinking about your position and stuff. And for me, I think like for most like guys that are probably like relatively like small bags and stuff, you're sometimes better off just holding the asset, because like let's say I have a lot of liquidity, right? Let's say I have like $10 million on both sides, so like 20 million total, right? If I can't sell and like without like really like causing harm to the price or something, and maybe I'm bullish on both assets and I just want like an ROI in the meantime, because like Pulse's ROI is probably going to be like less than 1%, and like PulseX is, you're not going to be able to like stake like a whole bag of like that much at a time, then maybe something with like providing liquidity could be beneficial if I wanted like an ROI, if I wanted like income or whatever. But I think for like a lot of small guys, like sometimes it's just better to hold the underlying asset, because you don't know for sure which one's going to do better. And if you're selling the one that's doing better, which is how LP works. If you're selling the one that's doing better and it does a lot better, then obviously hindsight's 20/20. But that's why I'm saying like, and I'm not saying like you should go back like me, for example, right? Like I was in Hex day one. Hex dropped like ridiculous on day one, and I was like, I got really fucking pissed because I put a ton of money in it at first, and I just like boom, shut the computer and like walked away for like a month, right?
Fucking grinder. Wendy's in the trenches, boy. He's in the trenches, boy.
If I would have just DCA'd and like not been emotional about it, I would be like 100x richer, right? So
well, the fact that you even stuck around. I mean, you stuck around after an 80% dump off the jump, and you're here today talking about everything is probably pretty incredible. Obviously, everyone.
I mean, it was more than 80%, which is why I got so pissed. Because
it was more than 80%. Damn.
Well, just think about it like this: everybody was saying scam, right? Like everybody, because there was no there really wasn't a real Hexagon community like there is now. And so like I was in the ETH community. So like everybody that was in ETH with me was like, dude, you just got scammed. Like, because imagine like it drops 90% in a day.
Oh,
you're
yeah,
like,
dude, I would be all over.
And then all your buddies in ETH are like, you just got scammed, and like they're just talking shit the whole time.
So you're just pissed.
It's fucked up.
Yeah.
No, yeah, because what would I do immediately? Let's say Hex just came out. Let's say there's a new thing that Richard came out with. It was called whatever, Pulse Chain or something. Right? Like, what do guys like Wendy's know? 85% dips could happen right off the jump. He actually already experienced it, so he doesn't give a rat's ass. He's going to know that could possibly occur. He's going to think about that beforehand.
It's changed. Like, you know, everything that you go through in crypto will like change you and change your strategies a little bit. So obviously it's changed me and mine. But I guess what I'm saying is like, I could look at that every day, right, and be reminded of that. And like, there's something where you like, it's not healthy to like live in the past like that, right? So for that, I'm saying like that opportunity cost is gone. Like, don't think about that. But there's new opportunity cost every day, right? And I do think that you should take a look at all those things, right? Should I go to the gym? Should I hop on Gym Rat Crypto stream? Should I, like go to the movies, or, go to the movies with friends, or like, have dinner with my family? Like those are things that you should think about right now. And so when you're providing liquidity, think about that right now. Say, maybe even do the math, right? Like Sam could do the math and say like, oh, okay, well, like if I'm providing a Pulse and Pulse X, and Pulse X goes to the moon, and and Pulse underperforms by this ratio, how am I going to feel if I got this? So thinking about your strategy beforehand and during is pretty big. And I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of rich people that I've talked to that don't really know what they're doing. And
who would have thought they have money and they also don't know what they're doing? I thought that.
Well, that's a misnomer that like just because you're rich, I mean, you can get lucky, right? There's plenty of people that got into Hex and they just got lucky, and they have not done anything else in crypto at all. They've never provided liquidity. They've never like gotten scammed. They've never held things, other things to the moon and stuff like that. So like what I always say is, it's not about like how much you won, but like about being consistent. Like, are you consistently winning in crypto? And yeah, I mean, to me, that's the biggest thing. And so I think a lot of people are going to be out of their element, and some people are going to be in their element. And it's like, this is one thing that's like, it's my element. So, I was coming in and messing with fiat and, doing all this stuff. And it's funny because like, I hadn't even logged into testnet at all, because like, I'm like, I already know, I intuitively know exactly how to do all this stuff. And so just the other night, like Molly was logging in, and I was just like, oh, do this, boom. And it was just like, it was like, yeah, I've done this 100 times on 100 different chains. Like, it doesn't, it's just another day.
Similar, the tiny little details that might be different, but like,
yeah,
a lot of it's.
But for most people, like if you don't have like experience cross chain, if you're not doing stuff, then yeah, absolutely. Like, logging in and, messing with the stuff is good. But I already know, like I already intuitively like know what my plan's going to be, what to do. And yeah, so think about that stuff.
Understanding yourself, what Wendy was saying about not dwelling on the past is 100% accurate. And like I've fucked up in my life many times, and like I understand. For me, like I fucked up on different. Also, all the facets in your life you can fuck up on. You can like I fucked up on those, right? And once you do that like enough times, you get better at making decisions, but you also get better at like letting shit go. Because like Wendy's was saying, opportunity cost, like there's an opportunity cost for you sitting here watching this. There's an opportunity cost for you not drinking enough water.
If I went out on a date tonight, it was $140 or something, let's say, for example. If I stake that into Hex, it would probably be worth $100,000 in 7 years. That's an opportunity cost. I would still go on a date. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, you got to live your life, right? At some point, get a T-share position. The thing that I suggest to people, first off, is get a T-share position where you feel like, okay, this is cool. I feel comfortable a little bit moving forward, like I'm a part of the squad, right? You want to get in there, get a couple T-shares, get some of that money ratcheting, couple dollars a day, $10 a day, $30 a day. It feels great. And then, in my opinion, getting into this is at least how I've done it. I tried to do things by the book first. Now I'm spreading my little wings as far as learning, but I just got all my ducks in a row first. Now I'm learning, right? Like I did exactly what Richard Hart told me to do. It every step of the way for a year straight. It's worked out flawlessly. So I am excited about that moving forward. The fact that he's so consistent in saying things that kind of happen in the future. You know, like he's very aware of this ecosystem, and I know he has so much more knowledge than me. So I just defer on some things until I get to the point where now I'm like, okay, I can free think now because I'm a little bit more like locked into my positions. I got my sacrifices. And this is when I start bringing up stuff like providing liquidity, I immediately get backlash from people that have never provided liquidity. This stuff, and neither have I. But I ask questions, right? I go straight to YouTube and Twitter, and I start asking.
What is the backlash? Like, what do they say?
They just like, don't promote trading. You're going to get wrecked. Like and I'm like, is this really trading? Like, don't you have to provide liquidity in order for a
it kind of is like trading in the sense that like it's automatic trading, right? Like because your coins are coming in, coins are going out. So it is trading, but it's not like you're not actually like, you know, actually
it's kind of also a little bit like a business, so to speak. Where like you're like putting capital in and then you're getting capital to try to work for you.
But here's the other thing that a lot of people aren't considering. So like, you know, if you're not in a tax-free jurisdiction, like perhaps it is just better to just buy and hold and, you know, wait for long-term capital gains, you know. I mean, like these assets were, you know, like if you sacrificed, you're getting them at zero. Like that's, you know, that's pretty cool. So you just literally, all you have to do is hold until you're ready to sell. And maybe you can even, you know, hold, get to a tax-free jurisdiction and sell. I mean, there's a lot of options, but, you know, that's something to consider because you could have a lot of impermanent loss and a large tax bill at the same time. And, you know, like it's stuff to consider because like DeFi can wreck you.
Did you talk to, or did you, Kinetics was, I think that's how his name is said, was on the other day, and he's like setting up an advisory firm. And so we were talking a little bit about the taxes, and a lot of it was just confirming like the story that I'm going to be pitching to my accountant.
That was what I told you guys before. I said the same thing, like on a stream with you guys, like days before. I said that like you know, as far as the government concerns, it's like coin to coin is a taxable event, and that's when I said to you guys.
But like from the tax perspective that I found super interesting. You stake for Hex, right? But the story I'm going to tell my accountant, because this is how I see the world, is that's a capital loss year one. Say if it comes out in year two, then that's going to be the gain there.
I love you.
That's how it works with like the taxes on a CD. If you go look,
Sam's the only guy that goes to his fucking accountant's house and lays down the fucking law. Like literally, Sam goes to his accountant. He's like, "Here's my numbers. I don't want to pay shit." He's like, and this is why
I'll document it. I'll tell my story. It's all right there.
He'll do it in the most accurate way you can. You can only represent your funds.
Well, that's the funny thing is like you can argue a lot of stuff. It's just like what happens at the end of the day. You can have the opinion letters and everything like that, but how it all goes, like we don't know. So at some point you do have to protect yourself and you know, like not going crazy and like saving a lot and all that kind of stuff is pretty smart.
Okay, that was literally about what I was going to ask you. So GRC, I don't know, you just heard Wendy casually mention it, but how I think about it is I'm just going to, as I continue to progress, and I was going to do this in business anyway, is you just allocate a portion of the income to set aside for legal, right? And that could be larger or smaller depending on how you perceive or like where you decide to like push things like legally or from like the tax perspective, because like you don't know when you get into the courtroom, like you can have the best case in the world, have it all backed up and everything, and then you could still have clowns that are like making decisions, right? And you can't dictate if a clown is making a decision, even if you have the best case. If it's a clown making a decision, it's a clown making a decision, and that's terrible. Allocate that money.
Judges can be very, very different, you know. So one might be in your favor, and you know another one might just hang you up to dry. It's just
like, you know, doctors.
There's luck involved. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I do the same thing with my doctors. I've always muscled my doctors. Like since I was just a boy, because I just knew somehow I knew intuitively there's no way they can reach this stuff as in depth when they're working all day long. There's no fucking way. I put that together so early on. I was like, you're telling me, because I asked my doctors, I'm like, how many appointments you guys do a day? they're like 16 to 20. I'm like, you're so wrecked, dude. You don't learn anything. You're in here all day long. 20 appointments? What? Are you kidding me? You should be doing 3 and like studying all day. Like, you know what I mean? And I go in there and start talking about testosterone, Adderall, amphetamines, dopaminergic reactions, and they're just like, get out of here. And I'm like, you suck. I'm like, dude, I came here as an 18-year-old and told you why you shouldn't give me Adderall, and you still gave me Adderall. Like, it's like
they're there to turn and burn because they get paid per visit.
I know, but it sucks because you know when they're in college, they're not thinking like that. You know when they're in college, they're like, man, this is going to be fucking incredible. I'm going to change the world. And then the pharmaceutical companies are like, think you're changing the world, Buppy? Like,
well, that and then also like the student loans, right? Like, so like, you know, I have a lot of doctor friends because I was a nurse, and yeah, most of them are wrecked. Like they're wrecked.
No, like worse than wrecked. Like you think these guys, like they're working all day long to the point
they work a lot of hours. Like people think, oh yeah, I want to marry a doctor, and it's like, well, I mean, if you don't want to ever see your husband or wife, like sure, but you know. And then the other thing is like you'll have a nice lifestyle, but you'll always have that looming like 6-figure debt over your head. So
and imagine,
and then look at me, right? I had no debt. I did nursing school, and I graduated decades before every doctor I know. So
opportunity cost, right? Because you're going to be in school for 12 years or whatever it is longer.
Beast mode don't play by the rules, guys. The rules don't lead you to the right direction.
Yep.
Play your game. Wendy's was playing his game the whole time. He said, I'm going to use this.
And it opportunity cost, right? Like I was working 2 jobs. I was, you know, grind mode and everything like that. And like, so a lot of people now they'll say like, you know, they'll see like a picture or something or whatever I'm doing. And they'll say, man, you know, you deserve it because we saw that sacrifice that you made, you know? So, and I'm like, yeah, I do.
So for people who are thinking about like liquidity providing, right? Like for a lot of people, maybe it's only going to be a tiny portion of the thing just to learn.
Right? I've told people, I said like, hey, like maybe start with like 1% and then you could just say 100x, right? Like, so, you know, you could just do, you know, times 100 and that's your gains or your, you know, your impermanent loss, you know? So if you have like a $20 impermanent loss, right? And then you times 100, right? And you could say like, oh, okay, am I cool with this versus these gains or, you know, am I not? And then, you know, you can kind of go from there. But I mean, just remember, like, I mean, the earlier it is and the more volatile it is, the crazier it's going to be. So I'm not doing anything early on.
With what personally. Wendy's is mentioning, for anybody who doesn't like is not necessarily aware of it or whatever, hasn't thought about it. Like if you're say Pulse and Pulse X, in the first several weeks, months, potentially year, I would guess, you're gonna have this ridiculous amount of volatility. So say, for example, somebody does provide liquidity and they're like, okay, cool, I'm gonna put up this Pulse and then I'm gonna put up this Pulse X. And because of the volatility, you could put these up and within the course of 6 months, you could be all in one asset and then all in the other asset. Like all in the course of a 6-month period of time, because volatility, if this is the range, the volatility, the price at which things are trading at, the ratio goes all the way to one side, meaning you're all in one asset. And then it goes in the next 6 months, goes all the way to the other side. And now you're all the way in the other asset. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing or a bad thing necessarily. And you're earning fees along the way when it's in the range, but it is definitely something to consider if that type of stuff is important.
Well, the other thing to consider is you're always in the range because it's V2, right? So it's spread through infinity both ways.
Yes. So have you heard anything on that? Like, are they going to come out with like?
Well, they legally can't for like another year and a half, I think. So maybe a year.
Yeah.
So I would assume he would, like once it's open source. Why not? I mean, he's got so many devs. Like,
what about? Isn't there like?
Wouldn't be nothing.
Doesn't Sushi, or I was looking at them, a bunch of them yesterday, and one of them had liquidity, not liquidity.
Yeah, it doesn't really work the same. It doesn't really work the same or as well. I think like Uniswap V3 is much better, but yeah, honestly, I don't know. He might do it like as another. Well, no, I don't think so. Actually, I think he might not do it just because if you do that, you can't do the whole like liquidity providing thing, right? And it would technically be like a whole separate thing. And so I don't know how the fees and everything would work with that. And I think it's better in our interest for PulseX that he just leaves it like it is. And it's not necessarily better for like if you wanted to, make like like limit orders at, like a certain price higher or low, like buying or selling. But it's better for like the overall like buy and burn, which has been insane, by the way. We're over 40 billion coins on testnet burn now. It's like I made a meme about that last night, and I was just like, man, this is like crazy. Like people are gonna, and we're seeing it like all the time now, because it's almost every day that someone's like, hey, how do I get this? Because like they're taking note on that, on Twitter, because it's posting every single day how much it's bought, how much it's burned, and like, I mean, eventually you take notice, right? Like you say, oh, okay, it did like 300 million coins. What's that? And then it starts doing 2 billion coins a day, right? And it starts doing more. And then you see the total cumulative, and you're like, oh my God, this is happening every single day. It's kind of insane. We haven't seen anything like this in the past. So it's gonna be a really good onboarding thing, I think.
This is it's gonna be super exciting. What are your thoughts? Because like testnet is just basically like made up shit at this point, right? Like, and people, when they have their actual money in there, don't necessarily follow the same actions that they would follow when it's monopoly.
Oh yeah, it's all marketing right now. So if you see someone drove the price to like fiat up to like $11,000, it's because if you have a shit ton of coins, like you're not doing anything. Like me, right? I haven't even logged in under my account because I don't need to. I'll just do it when it's time, when it's game time. But so I could theoretically log in and pump whatever coin I want to the moon. I could, right? And so like, let's say I have a position in a coin, like a decent sized position, but it's not as big as like my PulseX and Pulse. I can do that, go in there and pump the shit out of it, right? And then like drive the price up, and then everybody, like people are talking about it on Twitter. Oh my God, do you see like this went up like 11,000% or something like that? So you can do that, and they did it with like other coins too.
It's also a good marker to see. Like people don't understand as well with the testnet, and this is something that I've observed, is people are generally lazy in general. So like people don't use the testnet either. So it is a good marker that people are playing with it. Like I don't care about the numbers, right, Sam? But I do care about the users per click, right? So I do want to see like how many guys, average ass dudes like Jim Rat, like Sam, like are just playing with the testnet, right? Like I think that is like a monumental piece of information.
And that's the thing. That's what I'm saying about like PulseX. There's plenty of people. There's probably like exponentially more people that haven't logged in than have. That's just how people are. Like some people just want to wait until it's time. They do it for real.
So what if it's more?
40 billion coins burned already, and it's testnet volume. Like the initial volume is going to be crazy. Like it could be astronomical.
How many rich guys don't give a fuck about the testnet? Come on, Wendy's, you're a nerd. Like Wendy's is a rich dude, but he's also a nerd. He loves this shit. I know.
But he also just said he hasn't even got onto the testnet.
So there you go. That's a good example. And he's played with this shit for years. But like for the average person that hasn't played with this shit, I think it is important they use the testnet. But those numbers, I'm telling you guys, those numbers are small. Those numbers are tiny. And I'm not saying the number of coins, of course, but I'm saying the number of clicks are tiny comparatively. And there could be even more financial mass coming into the system than the testnet represents. That is not quantifiable.
Oh, I guarantee it because like I said, like on the bot account, like people are commenting every day, like, hey, how do I get this? When can I get this?
It's
like, oh, you can get it in a few weeks.
Guys like this, social media phenoms are fucking.
And the other thing is like, let's say PulseX dumps, because I think a lot of people are anticipating that like PulseX is going to dump at the start. Well, that's even more coins that are going to get bought and burned
at a lower price. So the quantity
at a lower price, so the quantity is higher and stuff like that. So it's like, man, I'm like, bring on the fucking dip. Let's go, because I'm going to be just DCAing in, and it's going to be glorious. Whatever dips. Like if it's Pulse Chain, I'll buy Pulse Chain.
What? So okay. So like whether it's at one or the other, it doesn't really effing matter. You're just gonna acquire whatever one it is. Or
yeah,
I probably have a strategy for both.
Yeah, I was gonna do. Well, I'm not gonna say exactly what my strategy is, but I'll tell you. Like I'm gonna DCA every day, and what I was gonna do was I was gonna do like half and half, but I think I'm just gonna accumulate the one that's disproportionately lower.
And so you said you're gonna DCA every day. So is that using like LP money kind of putting into it as DCA every day, or are you going to just like have a big bag that you're going to put in, or some combination of both? Like what are your, because not everybody chooses to DCA every day, because a lot of times for the people who are watching, they might DCA once a month or once every 2 months or every paycheck, which is every 2 weeks roughly or something. So when you say daily, is that because you're pulling from like LP money kind of thing, or you don't have to talk about it if you want to?
Yeah, I get paid frequently, so I can afford to do that every day, and it's enough money that's like sizable, so I'm just gonna like, you know, just chunking away.
So I want to
sell me your bags, plebs. Sell me your bags. I can't wait.
Okay. So Wendy's, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
And like I sold my car, bro. Like I'm walking everywhere now. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, I mean, I'm not
savage.
You know,
he will wait you out until you're
freaking
blue in the face, and he'll take all your shit.
I will.
For not legally.
But again, you know, like it's about having a plan, right? It's about having plans, having contingency plans, and you know, just executing that plan. Because like sometimes in crypto, like it'll make you doubt your plan, right? Like something crazy will happen. Like let's say you were going to accumulate, like your plan was to accumulate PulseX because you're anticipating a dip, right? And then PulseX starts pumping at the start, and you're like, wait, what? What? Like this isn't supposed to happen. Like more people have PulseX. Why is PulseX pumping harder? You know, so there's something to be said for like having plans, having contingency plans, and then if you have like a reasonable suspicion that your plan is right, even though it's like wrong in the short term, sometimes like sticking with your plan is
so
best.
how do you approach it? Because I think this is what Wendy's is bringing up right now is like this is called real life. Like this shit fucking happens.
This is actually how real Hexicans that are deep in this shit since day one are thinking. If the ones that are smart.
This is your intention. I'm going to go from here to here, right? And then, you know, something comes up in the way and you got to change your plan. And that thing might just be some type of mirage or temporary thing.
Yeah,
like Wendy's
absolutely.
saying. So how do you think about those contingencies, right? You're like, okay, and are you personally going through and actually writing down your strategy?
Yeah.
And then like thinking about, okay, this if on the specific details. I'm a big like I do a lot of writing like every day. And are you writing down like the strategy? Okay, for PulseX, it's DCAing daily. I'm gonna do.
I probably should write it out, but I mainly like talk it through with like close friends that are in the space and stuff. And so I'll say like, you know, this is my plan, and then I'll just like let them like poke holes in my plan, and then I'll give them like evidence to support my thesis and stuff like that. And then, you know, like if it's working against it, I'm like. So at some point you have to admit like, okay, so like there's a point where I see this on crypto Twitter all the time where like someone makes a bet, like let's say that Chainlink's going to $100, okay? And the Chainlink army is like watching the coin die, not just on the USD chart, on the Bitcoin chart, on the ETH chart. It's dying like a terrible death. And at some point that you have to be like, okay, like my thesis was wrong and I need to like reevaluate, like cut my losses and like come up with a new plan. But it seems like, you know, from what I'm seeing, like a lot of times they don't. And I've seen coins go to zero, and I've seen people like when the coin's already down 99%, people still say they're like, I'm buying all your coins, you know. And I'm like, okay, like is this guy really like just retarded, or is you know, is it something else? Like is it, you know, like he's trying to get exit liquidity for the little amount he has left? It's hard to say.
So how do you, right? Because if you look at psychology, you have like the what is it? Losses hurt almost twice as bad as gains type of thing. And there's specific, you know, researchers use different language to describe it in terms of like loss prevention type stuff.
Right.
But how do you, because it's so nuanced based upon the individual, right? So how do you kind of like try to mitigate that? Because you know it's a real thing. It's been shown 1,000 fucking times. Like, so how do you go through and mitigate that? Because then people are like, oh, I'm just going to hold that on. I'm just going to hold it on a little longer. Like, do you set like a specific, like this happens, or how are you like thinking about that at least?
I always have like a point where I'm like, okay, like this would be like max pain for me. And like, I'm not willing to like hold any longer, you know? And like, also, you know, like if you're retired from crypto, like you have to at some point protect your lifestyle and your, you know, not even necessarily your lifestyle. It's just like, you know, like when I said I was never going back to work, I was serious, you know? So like at some point you have to like lock in profits, like hold some cash, and, you know, you can always get yield on that and stuff like that. So you could just, you know, essentially diversify. And so like, it's funny because like now I'm diversified to a point where my cash flow is is multiple X's what my salary full time was, and that's just my cash position. It's not my like hex position or anything like that. So, you eventually want to get to a point like that. So it's like you can take, I've had 8-figure losses before, and like I think that like crypto in general will just teach you to be tougher, and that's why I always say, like, I said hex would go through pain when I was at like 40 cents. I was still buying, but I knew that like at some point there would be a bear market and there would be pain, because it's an asset like anything else. And I just know how brutal, crypto can be. So, you're going to experience pain in crypto. Like if you shy away from that, you're going to limit your gains too, because, like many people have said, not everybody's going to hold for a 10,000x, right? Like a lot of the reason that a lot of the hexagons held for that is because they had to. So will people be able to hold the 10,000x in Pulse X? Will they be able to hold the 10,000x in Pulse? From a token economics position, both of those should be able to do those kind of numbers. But how many people are going to actually hold that amount, right? It's
do you think
there's going to be on the way to 10,000x, there's going to be a lot of 80% dips, a lot.
Real quick before, because I mean, we're all keen on this information, guys. Do trust me. And everyone in the comments is exact. I mean, we're getting really nice comments about whenever Wendy's comes on, we get really nice comments, which is great because Wendy's, he's not streaming all the time, but he loves to come on the show and just give it raw.
We appreciate it.
We
do appreciate the insights.
And no, because I mean, come on, Wendy's is legit, guys, and he's actually in the trenches, like paying attention to stuff, which most guys in general, rich or poor, are not. It doesn't matter. Like, and that's what on this show we want to show guys. Like, all you have to do is actually do the shit and pay attention and ask your buddies and bounce ideas off. Don't just listen to shit. It's stupid. It doesn't make sense. Why would you listen to someone about finance? In general, you have to like really. But I want to read this. I have to use the bathroom extremely bad, and it's a number 2. So I'm going to GRC, J for J. GRC, your show is getting keener, helping young new folks learn valuable info, and it truly seems you and Sam are swearing much less. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So keep up good work towards less F-bombs and such. Strength and honor. Thank you, J for J. I appreciate that, and I guess I will try to stop the F-bombs. I haven't thought about it too much. Vic Bish, I'm keeping my piece of shit until I just cursed. I'm keeping my piece of poo until I run it into the ground. Yeah, my car just got leveled by an F-150, collected the insurance money, deposited it pretty much directly into Ethereum, and swapped it in Hex. Guys, let's go. Fire it up. Soul, thanks for being here. HexyCat, never sell Pulse. Use liquid loans. HexyCat, we don't talk about that yet. Benny Blanco. How's everyone doing? When Tendies is on, and I'm going on the Liquid Loans channel with Matt. He invited me on, and we're going to chop up just about random shit. When Tendies is on, I'm glued to the show. Tendies.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to ask.
I'm going to use the bathroom. Continue your conversation, guys. If you haven't already, smash that like button. Please share this out to all your friends on Twitter and Instagram. And if you have a friend who you think could use this information, send them the link. Guys, I
want to say one thing. The biggest, like some of the biggest alpha, and I've said this like on many streams and like in Twitter spaces, is the best thing that you can do in crypto is make friends. Because like if you have other friends to bounce ideas off of, and it's honestly like it's the thing that changed my life the most. They'll help you hodl longer. They'll help you, like work out stress and think things through and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, make friends. It's a good community.
And they all have different skills. Like me and Sam, like someone asked me about protein all the time, like little stuff like that. Like just as long as you're spreading the helpful word, like everyone has something to give. Like there's always information that people have. Wendy's was a nurse for a long time. I was doing stuff for a long time. Sam was doing stuff for a long time. We've all been bodybuilding for a long time. So like, guys, everyone, we have a whole life story that you can share with your friends, along with like we're in the best financial instrument that's ever been created. All right, guys, I got to poo-poo.
So Wendy's, that's also super valuable because what Wendy's is saying is like how he's living his life. He literally just told us 7 minutes ago that he's like, yeah, when I have an idea for my strategy, like I talk it over with my friends who are in crypto so that they can be like, hey man, did you think about this thing? Or hey, what about when this happens, right? And so like building the friends and networks in crypto, tremendously invaluable. Like I'm getting this house refinanced. The first one did go through, so now I'm doing a second one or whatever. And the person is in crypto, and we're talking crypto, and just like that's part of the conversation of when I talk to her on the phone as a broker. Like it's great. I definitely enjoy it. Completely agree with that. I wanted to ask your thoughts on this. Okay, Coinbase last year did like $3.6 billion of net income. So profit basically. So that comes out to be like almost $10 million a day profit.
It's crazy.
Uniswap. Say if I'm average, and remember, Uniswap V3 came out this month last year, so it's 1 year from today that we can get like the concentrated liquidity and the limit orders and stuff. But they're doing say 1.2 a day, roughly billion a day in terms of transactional volume. If you take that times 0.003 on average, then that's I think it ran the numbers. I think it was $3.6 million per day, or about 1/3 of what Coinbase is doing now. You are big and bullish on Pulse. So am I. Pulse X. So am I. Hex, right?
Yep.
Is there like an idea or a place where Pulse X is surpassing Uniswap in daily transactional volume?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of things are going to have to go right for that to happen. I mean, if we can even get close, it's just going to be so profitable for people. It's quite possible. And I mean, like, as people find out about it. So like I told you, just from the bot alone, like people are finding out about Pulse and PulseX. So I think as people like see, okay, because like what does holding Uni do for you? Nothing. Right?
I mean, you know more than I do. It's just like a fake like DAO coin.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Like a lot of people held it because they were thinking, oh, eventually maybe there'll be some like yield sharing, like almost like dividends or something like that from profits. No, it's never happened, and I don't think it's going to ever happen. So, as people start seeing like, oh, I can transact cheaper, I can transact faster, and I can own essentially like part of the network, like I can share in its success. I think that's kind of like a no-brainer. So like it's on us to just like, get that word out there and stuff. And, we can do that like various ways. So, I think that the potential is there, and I think the potential to do better is there. Now, breaking into mainstream is always hard. Like Hex never really did it, although Hex has come so far from day one. In under 3 years, it's come like light years from where it was. Like everybody was calling it a scam back then. And now you still have people calling it a scam, but it's much less. And as time goes on, that kind of like goes away and people start like capitulating into it, right? As like the gains, stay up and stuff. So I think Pulse has a much better chance of breaking through the mainstream. And we've already heard that like one centralized, top exchange is going to list it and stuff like that. So I think it could happen. Like the stars are going to have to line up properly. But I think that even if that doesn't happen, there's still like a point where we're going to make so much money that you just don't care.
No, correct. But what if it was like the gold standard of DEXs?
Yeah, I mean, if that does happen, like I'm sure you've done the math. Like it's pretty insane of like what could happen. Yeah, the buy and burn can get insane. And I mean, if you just look at like what testnet is right now, like I think about like how much I sacrificed with my multiplier and how many coins I got, and then I'm looking at like the daily burn. Sometimes it's like, oh my.
Are you doing the math like as a percentage? Oh.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. This is like literally insane. And I've called it before. I've like joked about it, like as it's the Giga God whale. Like Pulse X has a Giga God whale. Some people have called it like, God Dex, whatever. Like, it's funny to like name it all these, weird things or whatever, but like it's literally built in. So, the God whale doesn't buy all the time, right? Like in Hex, he doesn't buy all the time. He buys sometimes, and he's bought a lot. But like this guy, the PulseX one is buying every day, and you can literally push a button and like make him go over to the computer with his unlimited stacks and go buy and burn, buy, and he doesn't just buy. Like in Hex, he just buys it, right? And he stakes it out, so it's gone for a while. But those coins are going to come, and then he's going to have more coins, right, to eventually sell. He's going to sell some, like he even did with ETH. You know, maybe it's 10, 15 years down the road, but eventually he's going to sell. The PulseX God whale doesn't ever sell. He burns those coins. Like he's the benevolent whale that we all dream about, right? You're always like, well, I want a whale to buy, but you're going to hold, right? Like this one's actually going to like, he doesn't even hold it. He's just like, boom, it's gone. Like, I don't even want the temptation. It's just get that out of here. You know what I mean? So like, it's kind of insane. And like, I think a lot of people like underplay the gravity of that, but it's huge. It's never been done like to this extent. Like it's massive.
It is,
and people are sleeping. People are still sleeping on it. It's hilarious.
It is stupid. Like Matt, like you run the numbers relative to Pulse, and I'm very bullish on Pulse. I think Pulse is going to do fucking amazing. But I personally, and I don't have the experience you do, and haven't seen what you do, and I understand that layer 2s are always the biggest, right? But I'm like looking at this, and I'm like, there's a possible future, whether it's a small probability or large probability, where PulseX could be larger than Pulse.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any question that could potentially happen. I mean, but I think there's also, just depending on the fees and how things move forward in the next decade, like I think the fee structure is really hard to predict. Like, even like I'm sure there's a person out there that could say, if there's this many users and this many dollars, the GUI will be this much, therefore blah, blah, blah. But like, let's be honest, that's adoption. How are you going to calculate adoption? Like when random people I always say this, Sam, so many people come in, like, let's say guys like the Hodge twins and stuff. I'm not saying they don't know what they're talking about. I have no idea about those guys. But let's say, for example, they saw Richard Hart. They thought he was funny. They thought he was cool. Clearly rich as fuck. Clearly something's going on here because they got 1,000 retweets when they mentioned it. So what do? They fucking sacrifice for PulseX. Do you think they know what the fuck PulseX is?
Well,
probably not.
What did Wendy say at the beginning? What do you and I talk about regularly? Like, there's a lot of people, like Wendy's like, yeah, there's a ton of successful people and they don't have any fucking clue what they're doing. Like you see this every single day in everything that we do. There's doctors. There's a bunch of beautiful, like amazing, very, very caring, thoughtful doctors. But there's also a lot of people who are just there to make a buck and churn as many as they can. And there's plenty of people who are successful in life, financially speaking, and they don't have much clue what's going on. They know their thing, but they don't know like the broader understanding of what's going on. And you're 100% right with that. Like Wendy's, you probably talk to other people who have, maybe similar sized bags as you, who are like sacrificing, like, oh yeah, this thing's going to be awesome. Have you heard about this other meme coin and this other thing? And you're like, bro, you're not paying attention to what's going on over here.
I mean, yeah, stuff frustrates me, man. Like I've given away like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of hex to like Ethereum people, and all pretty much but one person held. They all sold, and it's like.
So you've seen it real time, like the actual numbers, spreadsheet numbers. Like
some sold before a big payday too, and I was like, my God, what? Your meal ticket.
Literally, he was offering you free money, and he said, "There's a date where you're getting a lot of free money. Just stick around and stake your shit. If you're gonna do it, you might as well do it then." And they all just sold it beforehand. They would have literally been retired 10 times over, without even they could have still sold half their bags.
Yeah, and then they try to justify it. They're like, well, like one of the guys was a young kid, and so that was part of why I sent him, the coins and stuff. He was new in crypto, and I was like, dude, you're gonna be rich one day, like you just gotta stay. And he just went into NFTs and started going NFT crazy. And he's like, hey, do you mind if I like end the stake? And I was like, I mean, bro, like it's yours, it's your money now. Like you can do what you want with it, but like I gave that to you to like, to help you out. And I don't know, whatever, You
have to.
And that's why I don't do that no more. One guy's actually like pretty decent in the community, and he's like,
oh yeah,
he's a pretty good guy. So I did bring him over, but like the other guy's painful sometimes to think about. I'm like,
do you still talk to him?
I should have just bought myself a Lambo.
True.
The younger kid, no, he's full NFT retard. I can't deal with it.
So
I follow him on Twitter, but I had to mute him too. I was just like, I can't take it.
My mom loves Wendy's and Motley.
It's like, oh,
like we love Wendy's and Motley. They're so nice. So don't say the R word because she doesn't like it.
I'm sorry.
No, but
I
seriously,
would never say that about somebody that was actually like handicapped. I
course.
use it to describe actual
only
like, stupid
NFT
people.
guys that sell their hex, because if
Yes.
you do sell your hex for NFTs, you truly might be on some sort of spectrum somewhere, because you do not know what effing world you're living in. Because
the other thing I was trying to tell this kid, I'm like, yo, the bear's coming, you know, and he's like, no, man, this time's different. And I'm like, all right, dude, whatever. And I was trying to tell him, like, yo, like, get rid of your Bitcoin, man. You're just not going to get enough. Like, even though you're young, like, you could retire off Bitcoin. Like, just don't. Like, just stop. But, you know, people don't listen. I don't know.
I'm so proud of everyone in this community who's participating in the Crypto Fitness Challenge. Guys like Orca, Crypto Curricula, same guy, Chris right here. All these guys are in the chat room with the Telegram chat for the fitness challenge, and it's really made my life better. It's made my life way better, because now before I didn't care about my fitness that much, and I was still really ripped, but at the same time now it's like I'm doing it for some other reason, right? Like I'm not going to win anything. No one's going to be like, Scott, you're 3 pounds more muscle. That's so great. But we're talking about heart health for guys that have bad heart health, right? I'm getting reached out to guys that are overweight, really overweight. Awesome. To the point where it's in their hexagons. They're like balls deep hexagons, like, but they're like extreme. They're like, I don't know if I have much hope left. Stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? And it's made my life absolutely transform, as far as like, Sam was getting emotional too at our last AMA, because it's the same thing. It was just like, dude,
because you're like, actually, you're going through and like, and I've got goosebumps because it's true. Like,
I know
you're
easy
giving people to start, and we're not doing it. Like, you're just like opening people's eyes, and then they're like, oh yeah, maybe it makes sense to start taking action on my fucking life, right? But it's like so awesome. It's a good experience, especially like when you go through, and the dude that you helped out, right? Like years later, he's like, oh my God, that money's now I have all this because of what you helped me out with. He's going to be forever grateful, or more than likely he will. On average, people will be, right? And it is, I get a tremendous amount of value from that when people go through and they start taking action, they start moving forward in their life, and they're like, oh my God, this is so much fun, or I'm making progress. I'm like, yeah. It's awesome, right? Like, I get excited about it.
Well, it's like it's tricking them into develop good habits too, right? Because like a good habit takes a few weeks to develop, and then it's all of a sudden like they're in this, like, they got this routine going, right? And it's like, it's, you know, eventually you just start feeling better, and you're like, oh man, this, you know, you start associating like, oh, okay, like I'm going to the gym, I'm feeling better, you know, I'm moving better, and you know, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's awesome.
And you see a little lady across the room.
Yeah, and they're checking you out, and you're like, you know, giving them the little, like, you know, bicep.
A little bit of it, like, what's up, girl?
Yeah.
How you doing?
I do some of that when the girls.
I see you looking and doing like the tricep extension, like, see you looking.
I'll just walk around the gym sometimes like this for fun.
I would too if I looked like you.
So the best part about the gym, when you're the most ripped dude in the gym, it is kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie, like because maybe once or twice, like the guys that are bigger than me are generally like clearly abusing steroids, so I kind of give them the pass, and they have like, you know, so, but like in general, like there's no one that keeps it shredded like me year round at that gym, and I love that. Like it's just like, it's not like I hate
see you, Myron
Gaines. You talking about?
Mm-hmm.
What about Myron?
Myron.
Yeah. He's saying Myron.
Yeah.
Some people, yeah. Like
no,
Myron,
his name's Myron. That's what he.
No, Myron. Like, you know, like on the old forums back in the day.
Yeah.
Sam knows what I'm talking about.
I don't know
yeah.
You're talking about.
Like, you know how you see a mirror, you see a reflection.
Yeah.
You see like a reflection of like a mirror, right? You see a reflection of yourself in the mirror, kind of thing. So like see somebody else who has good physique, and you're just like mirroring the physique. You're like, oh, that's cool. Like you're jealous a little bit, maybe a little bit or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just always wanted to be a fucking unit. I didn't know necessarily what that would look like, but like a unit for me, like it's nice when you can be a unit and be 175 pounds too. Like it is cool. Like I know, Sam, you can't relate because your body is so much larger than mine, but like I'm really big and I don't have to really get over 180 pounds to look. It's kind of nice, you know, like Sam knows as body.
Short people have such an advantage to look big.
Oh, they really do. They really do. The longer your limbs are, like the harder it is. Like it's kind of.
And I have really long arms, but like I'm pretty.
That's why Motley's so jacked. He's like a little buff
good,
dwarf.
dude, already, dude. His face is losing weight already. I'm so proud of everyone. Little Hobby Motley. Feeling good, getting ripped, gorilla mode.
I want to ask Wendy's about how I'm thinking about what I'm going to move forward, because I respect what Wendy's has to say, and curious to learn, if he's seeing something that I'm not thinking about, right? Because you have to, like, somebody can be super, super intelligent and they tell you something, you're like, hey, this is blah, 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 blah. But then you don't just be like, okay, that's the gospel. You got to think for yourself and understand, like, okay, Wendy's is super smart. He's had a lot more experience than me, but does he have different goals than I am because he's in a different position of where he's at?
Yeah,
so
that's
you just want
to
to grasp all that stuff and then think for yourself and be honest with yourself about, like, what you're actually doing. So for me, this is going to be going through probably in the next 30 days to 45 days.
Is that Ziz?
No. Look at that dude.
That's Johnny Chaos. That's Johnny Chaos.
I know. I see it.
That's
I don't know. I have no idea who that is.
He posted under this. He's like, why does no one do this to Gym Rat? And I was like, it was so funny because people just memed him. Like, he probably posted one picture of himself trying to be like, let's go, and then everyone fucking memed him, obviously. But it's all fun and games, obviously. He's pretty good shape for fucking. I mean, I don't know what it is, but like, he seems like he's in great shape.
So how I'm thinking about it is, I'm probably going to take some portion, less than 1/3, and put it into Hex out past the average. Then the remaining portion of it, I will probably put a lot of it into LP to just utilize the cash flow to purchase more Hex, or like I like Pulse X a lot, so I'm going to be purchasing Pulse X, Hex, and Pulse. And I'm just curious to know, like, your thoughts on that in terms of the LP. Right, it's not going to be anything near the size of a bag that you're putting into LP. Would you diversify that into like 1, 2, 3 positions, or keep it all in one and just because it's more efficient?
Yeah, I think having a few positions is probably better. It just diversifies the risk a little bit more. But I think, like, early on, you better be really careful. I don't think I'm going to provide liquidity early.
Okay. So I'm sorry, not on Pulse X. I'm not going to be providing liquidity on Pulse X. I don't think I will be.
Uniswap?
Yeah, Uniswap.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking about Uniswap for, like, after Pulse Chain's launch, though.
Yes.
On what pair are you thinking?
Probably the only ones that I know. So, like, I know, a teeny bit about Hex, ETH, like wrapped ETH, some stable coins. I've been looking into Uni, like the token recently, Aave token, things along those lines.
Hex Maxi.
Yeah, but there's just not a lot of volume in that yet. But maybe it's position in there.
I think, again, opportunity cost. I think that you would make way more money on the Pulse Chain ecosystem, because that's where all the money's going to be siphoned to. So if you were going to do that, I would do it on PulseX. For some pairs, you might want to wait for the volatility to subside a bit. You have to mess with it. And that's why I say people start with like 1%, because then you'll be able to see, like, you can kind of tell if the volatility is like really, really rough, but then also if the incentive reward is like really, really high, you could always just do it with 1% and then multiply your gains or losses by 100. But yeah, I think there's something to be said with keeping it simple for some people. There is huge opportunity for LP providing. It's your strategy should be dynamic in the sense that you should be looking at like multiple things, but then also like be careful about the positions you're taking, because like if you're on ETH and then most of the volume and everything is coming over to Pulse and you're holding ETH instead of holding Pulse, like I'm holding like no ETH, bro. I'm ready, to be, dollar costing in on the other network. So
I think I'm under one. I think I'm under 1 ETH at this point. Like,
to me, if you wanted to do that kind of strategy, like, okay, so for example, if I wanted to do ETH and then X, Y, or Z or whatever, if you wanted to hold ETH, I would do like ETH Pulse or something like that, or something on PulseX, so that, you know, and number two, you're helping your PulseX bag because you're providing liquidity over there. You know, the more liquidity that's over there, the more people are going to go over there to trade. So like, it's kind of like advantageous on like a lot of angles to be over there. And if you wanted to, like, Uniswap's not going anywhere. They're probably going to move to, you know, like a heavy layer 2 eventually. So you could always just do that when that time comes. But I mean, for now, there's way too much opportunity cost, you know, for not being on Pulse Chain. So, I mean, I'm pretty much just going to be on there doing stuff.
You would
know,
just
for at least a few years.
Wouldn't you
You
feel
know,
like
and
if you just
when all that stuff dries out, you know, like when maybe like some of the stuff comes back to ETH or whatever, and then you want to, like, you know, speculate on like an ETH pair and stuff like that. But it's like, especially you're new to the game, like, why would you hold ETH over something that's going to outperform it by potentially thousands of X? And so, like, wouldn't it be better to just buy, like, if you want ETH, isn't it better to buy PulseX and then sell it on a double, 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 sell it on a double?
Well,
you know,
I'm
like,
thinking of,
that's
like,
that was always like Richard Hart's thing. He's like, oh, you love Bitcoin? Well, buy the thing that's going to go up more and then use it to buy your Bitcoin back. So why wouldn't you do that for Pulse Chain and PulseX? Because they're going to outperform for sure. Like, I'm certain of that.
Because I guess what you're saying is if the ETH hex pair went lopsided to the ETH side and you were stuck with all the ETH, even if you bought back all the hex, like, you would have just missed whatever opportunity was within that, right?
Well, I think we're also mentioning, like, as you're talking, and at least the interpretation, because I was going to stick with, like, you know, just use for LP on Uni, take the profits and just get into more Pulse and stuff, and PulseX and Hex, right? But through what you're saying is, I may actually split that up and do a little bit, a smaller portion, and then provide some liquidity on PulseX, not the full amount, but a portion over there to also work with what I've got over there, and use that LP over there to also just continue to acquire more of what I already know I want to quit more of.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, like, gas fees. Like, there's a lot. Like, so if you're over, like, and in fact, most of the eHex might be on Pulse Chain. So, you know, something to think about. But yeah, so, like, let's say you create a pair, okay, that's gas fee, and then you claim fees, that's gas fees. Then you bridge it over to Pulse Chain, gas fees. So if you're on Pulse Chain and it's essentially free in the beginning, I don't know, man. I just think that if you're asking, like, what I would do, I would definitely not do that. And for myself, and I would 100% not do it if I was new, because you're missing out on too many gains. Like, this is a huge opportunity.
This is why I asked this question. This is a huge opportunity for you. Like, this is where you get rich. Okay, like, we're in a bear market. Like, in my opinion, the bottom's going to fall out soon. If I had to guess, I would say weeks, not months, till like we see like a capitulation move in the market. It just looks like that. Like, the 3 days looking to bear cross. Every time that's happened before, Bitcoin's gone down to, like, you know, the 200 MA, you know, and, like, a lot of times it wicks below that. So, like, it looks like is it a coincidence? I have no idea that, like, Pulse Chain's literally, like, potentially going to launch at the same time the market's going to capitulate. I don't know.
Is Richard that good? Is Richard that
I don't know, man.
Is he that fucking good? There's no way he could have solved.
I'm not a professional trader, but it looks to me like the bottom's getting ready to fall out in the market. That's just
this is such gold. I want to hear this because I want prices to crash. This would be fantastic.
But yeah, Sam, exactly. And even here, so we're in a zone here where in a few years, even Bitcoin, you would be profitable probably buying. So, you know, so this is kind of, and the same thing with ETH and, you know, and a lot of other stuff. Like, we're in a zone where, like, if you have, like, outside income, dollar costing in here, I think it's going to go down more, but still, you know, for example, like, when Bitcoin was at 6,000, right, and it dropped to 3,000, okay, that's a 50% drop, right? But, like, if you were buying Bitcoin at 6,000, you're doing pretty good now, right? And you, like, you know, at the high, you were up 10.
Put into perspective,
Put into perspective, like, you know, so it's pretty good. So this is still like a DCA range, you know, like 60K was not a DCA range, you know. Now it kind of is, but you know, this is when you can really, really change your life, is like a bear market. And then also you're getting into something that's not even launched yet, and it has a good amount of hype and stuff behind it.
So,
Man, I just wouldn't be
No, I
playing with
appreciate-
stuff that, like, you know, that
So,
no, like,
question-
people aren't going to be playing with. Go where the money's going.
Question on that. So, well, two questions. Your thoughts? I think that they're I hopefully this is going to be accurate. And I'll just clip it from one previous show and be like, "Bitches, I fucking told you this is going to happen." But I was like, before.
No, we don't say bitches. We say, yo, people. friends,
friends, fellow gym rats.
Friends, yes. But there was going to be a run up in Hex price, and then I think that there's probably going to be some type of dip. Maybe not back down to 10 cents, but I do believe there's going to be some type of dip of Hex post launch in some period of time. I don't know what that period of time is.
You know, crypto loves events, right? So if you say this is happening on this date or in this range, people will buy up to leading to the event and either sell right before or right after, right? And so that's what we call a sell the news event. Anytime that those exist in crypto, it waits until the last minute, right? It's always the last minute. So, like, you know, for Ethereum, right? Like, if any kind of like event, it's always the last weeks right before. So like the merge is not pumping Ethereum now. The merge is happening, you know, in like several months or whatever. It will be like when it's like weeks away, it will start going up exponentially. Same thing happened with EIP 1559. It didn't happen a year in advance. People weren't like, oh, next year ETH is going to be like burning ETH. No, like it's the market is so short-sighted, they can't do that. So it's not a huge surprise to me that, like, you know, we dip down and then we're a few weeks out, and like Richard's saying, like, yeah, like we're looking like we're pumping, and we're pumping, right? Like that's just how it is, you know. And so could it be like some big payday event where we pump and then we dump? I mean, it's yet to be seen, but I mean, going off history, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. And how long Hex takes to recover, it's hard to say, because now you have many coins to buy, right? So you have eHex, you have the Hex on the Pulse chain, right? Which is just Hex. Then you have Pulse, right? And then you have PulseX, and then you have the incentive token. So that's a lot of. So right now you can buy one coin. You know, in a few weeks you can buy 5 coins. So what does that do?
Hex Monkey with the 1414 super chat. Love you guys. Also, type 1 in the chat if you know why I picked this super chat amount. Hex Monkey, thank you. I'm 1414 I don't know, but maybe I'm just a gym rat. But guys, 1 in the chat if you know what that means.
Wendy's, I don't know why 1414 either, Monkey. You can let us know in the chat. Wendy's, okay, so thanks for that. Thoughts on the Hex post, you know, buy the news and then you're selling it kind of thing.
And that's, you know what, if it does that, like, cool, awesome. Like
it'd be perfect.
It would be perfect, right? Because then you can use, you know, and look, like, Hex is going to go up in the long term. And like, and even now, like, Hex is getting attention from outside people because the market's dying and Hex is pumping. So everybody's like, why is that pumping? So even if they don't get into Hex, they're like, wait, why is that pumping? They start researching. Oh, Pulse Chain's launching. So maybe they go into Pulse Chain, right? A lot of people, myself included, want to buy back, you know, our full bags, you know, after a rip. I'm not going to do it on a 10x. You know, I'm going to wait until like Pulse Chain and PulseX do very, very outsized gains to Hex, and then I'm going to, you know, rotate in, you know, as appropriate.
When on the LP thing, to get back on this, because this is the second question. So with PulseX, I like what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying when it comes to the opportunity cost, right, of doing shit on fucking Uni or on apologize whoever was like doesn't like swearing, doing stuff on Uni or doing stuff on PulseX. Completely agree with that 100%. Now, I don't have the experience of providing liquidity where you only have you have to provide it across the whole scope of the prices, right? Have you done both where you've done concentrated as well? Okay,
yeah,
can you talk about those?
Yeah, so like I explained, I think, like, I don't know, probably like a few weeks ago, like when you're providing liquidity and on, like, for LP providing, remember I was explaining that you get that, like, that share, like that placeholder token that represents your share in the pool or whatever.
Yep,
That only
NFT.
exists. That only exists on like V2, which is essentially like what PulseX is going to be. And so when that happens, you have the full spread of infinity, right? So when the price of your coin is $1, how many times can it drop 90%?
Like you could just continue to go down.
Infinity, right? And it's the same thing. How much can it pump 90%? It can pump that infinitely. So essentially your spread of the LP. So if you have $100,000, your spread to infinity low and infinity high. So you're getting like so when the price is 10 cents, you have like this little bit that is essentially like earning the fees, right? So the difference in like how much you earn from fees is massive, because if you have $100,000 and you put it in a very small spread of like a penny or so, you'll earn thousands and thousands of dollars in fees on that.
So now, that's why I was asking, because that's why I liked V3, because I'm like,
okay, but here's the caveat.
Because I can just dump it over there. Please.
Here's the caveat with that. So if you're doing it like, let's use Hex as an example, right? If you're setting it up like on the buy side, right? So like, let's say it's 11 cents and it dips to 10 cents. Okay. You just made like $3,000 in fees. Awesome. You just made $3,000 in a day. Now you have all Hex. Okay. If the price keeps dumping, now you've lost way more than $3,000. Okay. So at some point you like, it's basically like constant trading. So you have to like, to actually like realize that $3,000, now you're all in Hex. So maybe like if you wanted to just like buy Hex and stake it out, like that's fine. But if you want to keep using that $1,000, well, now you have to set a sell order, and who knows how long it is until that sell order. So like, let's say you did it at 20 cents, right? Hex dipped to 10 cents and was down there for months, right? Like in that range. It never came back up to 20 cents until like right now, right? So so you were making like 3,000 that one day, and then like literally you have months where you didn't earn anything. You could have staked the Hex short term, sure, but you're still like, you're not earning anything. So it's kind of like a misnomer that you're just going to like earn a ton of money.
Because then it's going to be like somebody, like you said, if you do like 1 penny, right? Like if you're doing a stable and you just do 1 penny spread, right? You can earn a lot more in the fees. But like if you're
but the flip side is that like, so like on PulseX, you're getting the incentive token the whole time. You see what I'm saying?
To like almost compensate for that, the benefit of the concentrated cushion. Concentrated position, you can't do that, but as an other benefit, you get the incentive token. That's going to be. Do you have any other? And then I got to run after you answer this question, because this has been awesome. I don't know, GRC. I don't know if you've enjoyed this conversation as much as I have, but I have thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
It's been tried.
What do you think? And obviously, this is a game of conjecture here. What do you think of the incentive token and possible? Or like, what's the essence that you're kind of like feeling, right? Because you can get, when you like pay attention to a market.
Bro, I wish you would talk more about the incentive token, because like I've said before that like adding more reasons to have the incentive token, and there's plenty of things that you could do, right? So like he could have like a PulseX like banner on PulseX, and he could say, so like ETH Trader did this thing, right, where it was like they had the banner on ETH Trader, and you had to buy tokens that you would get from posting on ETH Trader. So like if you did like a post on ETH Trader, let's say you get like 100 tokens or whatever, you could use those 100 tokens to buy the banner and shield your project or like your favorite coin. And so you just design the banner and you put it up there. And so like, let's say I paid 100,000 tokens to get that banner. Now somebody would have to pay more than 100,000 tokens to replace that banner. So if like you didn't like that token, you're like, oh, fuck that token. That token's a scam, And actually, funny thing, Hex actually went up on that. Someone bought it back then and put Hex up there. And then, of course, what did they do? They said, okay, well, any token but Hex. They actually did that, believe it or not.
Oh, wait, did you say any token? Did you say
yeah, they basically said like any token but Hex. Like, so then like someone else just put something like a Chainlink one or whatever up there. Like, I don't know. After that happened,
so what are some other?
I didn't go in there, but so that's a reason, right? So like that would be a reason to either accumulate incentive token or use it in some weird way as a utility. Like, well, I'm using it to buy ad space.
So like, what are because like the vast majority of the people who are listening and are going to watch this are not in the position that you're in, where they're having something where you can go through and create the own utility with the token, right, is not going to be where people are. They're not going to find a tremendous amount of utility in that. They're going to be like, how can I fucking make money with this this incentive token? Are there some cool or interesting ways that you've heard where incentive tokens can be used to, increase yield or do different things? Could it be like something where it's like cake and you're staking it?
Like that's probably, I'm trying to think, that might be one of the only ones that I've heard that did something like that, but it's also because they just had a 1 token system. So I think if you have a 2 token system, like PulseX does, you need to kind of like bake in some kind of reason to hold it. You know what I mean? And there's plenty of things you could do. I mean, you could give it like some kind of pumpamental. You could make some utility for it, give it a cool name, right? Like if he just named it like Dashind Inu, maybe that gives it reason enough to pump, right? Like because people love their stupid dog memes. So there's a lot of things that you could do with it to give it a reason for people to accumulate, or like in the ad thing, in my opinion, is great because we have so Pulse and PulseX are going to have thousands of projects, right? Let all of them fight over the incentive token, and maybe they're not even buying it. Maybe they just have huge amounts of liquidity and they're just going to not sell it. They're just going to use it to keep pumping up their projects and stuff like that, because we've already seen that like people are going to have the PRT token, right, to like show their projects and stuff like that. So they're going to give away a portion. So why not have something else that's like a banner? Maybe they don't want to give away supply, but they'll give away because they want their token to do better, but they'll put a banner, pay to put a banner up there.
Where would that money go? So say somebody's like, okay, you get that banner on the site, right, and they're showing whatever they want. Where does that?
It could be even third party. It could be like anybody could set that up. Like you could make like a leading like PulseX website, and then just say like, hey, we're going to accept the PulseX token, and it'll essentially just
not built in.
No, it could be. It could absolutely no. It could absolutely be built in. Like Richard could 100% do that. But I'm saying also a third party could also do that. It's just that if Richard did it and put it on an actual PulseX website, then obviously that would be more valuable, right? Like if you had, if there's millions of people going to a website, the more traffic, the more the ad's worth, right? Which means the more the incentive token's worth if it's the ad token,
No, that makes sense. And especially when you put it into context to understand who is actually going to be getting incentive tokens, right? Because I was like, hey, the people in this chat who are going to be listening, who are going to be watching this, are going to care about how much money they make, but the people who are actually going to be holding incentive tokens are not going to be the people who are watching this show. They're going to be
essentially even the people dumping the token. Like let's say you, for example, like you're like, I don't care about ad space or whatever. So you dump the token, but somebody does care about ad space, so maybe they buy the token to and so like if you have at least some reason to buy, you're offsetting selling. If the only reason is that the token sells, then it goes down to zero pretty quickly, right? So having as many reasons to buy as possible is a good thing. So if there's an ad reason to buy, if there's like a little bit of pumpamentals on the coin, that's another reason to buy. If it's got a meme name, that's a reason to buy. So like the more reasons to buy you have, the better the token price does in the long term, which means that you have more time where people are bridging money over to get APY in this token, because if the token's staying relative in value, then the APY stays high. If the token price declines, you're making less APY. So then there's less incentive for people to bridge money over. Then that means there's less people like transacting. There's less volume. There's less buy and burn. So in my opinion, the incentive token is imperative to like the long-term health of PulseX, as far as like the buy and burn and, getting liquidity and volume and all that.
Balliot Bull Rush, real quick. He's got a question for you guys. Balliot Bull Rush, honest question. Is there any thought that EHEX may dip after Pulse Chain launches due to the people selling liquid after they receive their copy so they can move it to one of the 4 new coins mentioned? Now, the one thing that I'm going to make one comment on that and then just a quick one. I know a lot of guys with a lot of money that are really excited about having EHEX opportunities. So that's just what I'm going to put in. I don't have any other than that. That's my 2 cents.
I completely agree with the sentiment of that. I think
it's totally possible. We don't know what's going to happen. You know, some people are going to buy it, some people are going to sell it.
Because there's going to be
I've seen both sides.
The makeup of the purchasers of eHex today is going to be like a big portion of like figuring that out. So if the makeup of people who are running the price up are, you know what I mean, if it's like a majority of people who have smaller bags and they're like, well, I don't want to have eHex staked because of the fees and I expect fees to go up in the future or whatever, then I could see people transferring over. But there's also probably whales who are purchasing eHex as well because they're like, do I want to hold this other ERC20 where I think the eHex is going to give me the quickest parity or double on my bag? Like, right. So those people are going to be purchasing it too. And then they're like, they may want to choose to get out of it or put some money into Pulse. Right. So I think that there's a lot of potential pointers to eHex selling off to some degree. I don't think it will get back down to 10 cents personally. Maybe it will. That'll be dope. But I don't know. What are your thoughts, Wendy?
I think it could happen. I mean, like I said on the last time I think I was on, it's like every scenario that you can think of, some people are going to do that. So are some people going to sell for Pulse? Yes. Are some people going to sell their eHex for Hex on the Pulse chain? Absolutely. Are some people going to provide liquidity? Yes. So yes, to all of those things, like every situation you can possibly think of. Are some people going to stake their eHex 5555, you know, as a, you know, like as an insurance policy? Absolutely. So everything that you can think of will happen. What is the dominant thing? I have no idea. I don't think anybody knows. Could like the God whale buying, you know, if like Hex dips to like, let's say 2 cents or something like that on ETH, could the God whale buying it up, could that all of a sudden change how people start thinking about it? Yeah. So there's just so many things that can happen. It's like, you know, in the world of variables, you know, sometimes you feel like Dr. Strange, you're like, okay, like I see a million infinite possibilities. Like which one actually happens? I don't have any fucking clue. So we're just going to have to see what, you know, reality says.
That's no, you're good. That's a great way.
Yeah, one more question there, still, Sam. I got to pee real quick, so I'm gonna come back and talk to everyone. I have a few more questions for the chat, and people want to talk about.
So I'm gonna chill real quick, and then when you come back, I'm gonna jump off. So Wendy's, I know you're not doing this anymore, but Motley said that if I can beat his Twitter following, and I think you heard me say this last time, if I can beat his Twitter following, that he will actually give me 50,000 Hex. Hopefully it's eHex because then I can get a double, right? But even if it is just,
well, I guess you would technically have like, you know, like less than 2 weeks if it's actually launching at that time. So I don't think there's any chance that you do that because he still gains a good amount per day. So, but yeah, why not go for it?
But so if you guys root for the underdog, you just heard it from Wendy's. He's like, bro, you don't have an epic chance of beating Motley's followers.
That is true. But if you really want to root for the underdog, technically, I think I have less followers than you. So hit up your boy.
But he's already got plenty of hacks. He doesn't need any more hacks. But
true,
I need some hacks. So if you want to support that, if you think it's fun, you jump down below. There's a link for Twitter. It's at the bottom of the links here. Just jump over to Twitter, press like the follow button, and then retweet something that you thought was valuable or interesting. That is super helpful to gain more attention because the only way that I can win this, as Wendy's points out, is with your help. There's like I'm not gonna. He's got 14,000 and I've got like 2,700 or something. So there's no way I'm gonna get there unless you guys are helping.
I think Motley would buy followers before letting you win. I just know the
guy. Okay.
Just saying, he's very competitive. He's not gonna. There's a reason I don't compete with him because it's just like, all right, dude, it's enough. All right.
So you guys heard it here. I definitely need a lot of help. That I need help buying followers as well. But Wendy's, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your morning to come on and share your thoughts and your feedback, like about some of the things that I'm thinking about and just overall in crypto. This has been.
I mean, that's that's the topic that I'm going to be most helpful on, is liquidity providing, because like I said, there's not a ton of guys in the community that have done it. Now it's going to be a time where like everybody's going to be dipping in and stuff like that. But in the past, not so much. People stayed pretty much in their lane. So
Yeah, no, that's what I would love if Paul Flex had the concentrated position, but even without that, depending on like what's up with the incentive token and depending on the volume, right? Because if the transaction cost is so much lower, like the transactional volume could it might, just like how we talk about in crypto, we're at 2.5% roughly global population that owns any crypto. If that goes to say 10%, you don't just have a 4x increase in prices. It might be 150x
absolutely.
In prices.
100%. And like the other thing I just want to be clear on is like, there's a lot of pent up demand for Pulse Chain and PulseX. DCAing is the safest strategy, especially if you have a large amount. Like I know it's hard, you feel the FOMO, but like FOMO does get you wrecked in crypto. And if you can't stand dealing with like major losses like that, it might be in your best like mental health strategy. And like I was on a Twitter space the other night, and some guy was like he was not like fudding about Hex, but like borderline, because he put way too much in. Or no, it wasn't even about Hex. It was about like Pulse Chain or PulseX, but he put like way too much in, and it's been a long time, right? It's been almost a year. So, you got to really like think about, the future and stuff like that. We are in a macro bear, like what is going to happen? Is it going to be like flat for a long time? Like you got to be okay with this. Like you can't, you shouldn't be putting in like more money than you can afford to lose, in the sense that like, how long can you wait for this money? Like if it's money you need in 6, 12, 24 months, like you got to be really careful. Like some people just think, oh, it's a guaranteed to go up, so I'm just going to throw in a ridiculous amount of money. I'm just going to, we're going to mortgage the house, baby, and like put all this money in, it's going to 10x, and I'm going to buy you a nice, like all this stuff. It's like, be careful.
Thank you for the I appreciate it. I think GRC is going to stay on with you potentially, but I appreciate your time.
Stay on. If you want to stay on, feel free. I'll be on for another 30 minutes or so.
Cool. And everybody in the chat, thank you for all of the awesome comments. I was really trying to pay attention to what Wendy was saying, so I wasn't reading through a lot of the comments, but I would see them scrolling by the edge of my peripheral. So thank you guys for the support. I appreciate it. We wouldn't be here if you guys weren't like supportive and asking these awesome questions and learning.
I would be. You'd leave. I would. I'd sit there for my crowd, but you just move with the waves. We all know it. So
I appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon.
130 live
later, bro.
Active viewers, highest live active viewers ever.
Let's go,
guys! Smash the like button. Smash the share button.
Smash it.
Smash the bell button. You smash the bell button. Yeah,
smash the bell button. Smash your protein shakes. Smash the like. Smash the weight. Smash it all.
Have you been lifting like a maniac?
I honestly have been babying in, because I was in the hospital and everything like that, and I was like really busy before that with like traveling and stuff like that. So it's basically been like a month off. So I'm kind of like easing back into it, but I would say like in a week or so, I'll be going pretty heavy again.
Yeah, I just started going heavy again for the first time probably in 6 months. Like I'd been going to the gym, but just maintaining, and it's truly exhilarating when you start getting into it a little bit again. Like it is. It's nice. It's nice to really push something hard where there's no business, there's no relationships involved. It's like there's nothing involved. It's just like you're getting a little bit better. You're pushing hard. You're listening to absolute fire beats.
Yeah, the biggest thing to me is like especially if you do it early in the morning. The sense of accomplishment for the day. It's like, well, if you did nothing else that day, you did more than the average person, right? So like just going to the gym and like, bettering yourself a little bit is more than what the average person did. So, that's amazing in and of itself.
Somebody just real quick, this is actually kind of funny. I'll laugh at this. Oh, please don't show the wrong freaking thing. Here we go. Can you see that? Oh, hold on. I gotta pull it up. Somebody put my face on. That's Joker's body. I'm pretty sure. That's kind
I think that
funny.
wasn't that Johnny, or that was Johnny Chaos.
Oh my God, that's Johnny's. That's right. That is fucking hilarious, dude. Johnny is getting Absolutely. I love that Johnny put his bot out there for the squad.
Johnny Rat Crypto.
Hex Luther, I'll give you a little props on that one. That was funny. Good funny. We have Whales coming in here in just a second, I think. Not 100% sure, but he just popped in for a second. The whole reason I kind of started talking about liquidity providing is not because I plan on doing it, because I don't. I tell everyone all the time, I don't give a fuck about doing that right now. I really got to keep my position where it is at and just stack on it, right? Like I don't have much of a goal to like make some extra, like even if I were to make like some extra percentages there, 20%, 30% of my whole bag, I still wouldn't want to do it because I would just be busy doing it. You know what I mean? I'd rather focus on whatever venture personally I'm working on next and just earn revenue that way because that's more fun to me. Guys, we have a special guest.
Yeah, that's the best intro music ever. I'm sorry.
A friend made that for me, so thank you. I can't remember what your Twitter name was because it was kind of obscure, but thank you very much. Wales, how are you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm good, man. It's a great day. It's a great day, bro.
The weather's a little bit.
Yeah, the weather's shitty, but you know what?
Not here.
Well, thanks for rubbing it in our faces, bro. We appreciate it.
The cool part is, even when it's nice, it's shitty where I am. You know.
Well, be more, baby.
I'm kidding, baby. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to change this city, by the way.
I got some seafood out there, though.
I'm going to turn this city on its head. I'm telling you, in 20 years, Baltimore's going to be different because of Gym Rat. I'm telling you.
Yo, that's what we all got to do.
I'm telling you.
There's nothing else to do.
I want to change it all.
Yo, I had a conversation today with a family member that I never in my life thought I would have. Now, why is the question? Today.
Wow.
Today, literally, I'm in the best spirits I've probably ever been in my whole life because I'm seeing the light, even in this drabby, dreary day. Why? Because people are waking up, man. They're seeing what I've been talking about for fucking 2 decades, right? Now, it doesn't matter that I've been talking about it for 2 decades. What matters is that people are finally seeing there are no two parties, that they're just trying to manipulate people. I mean, yo, when an NPC sees this, I feel like I can almost die.
So like the Matrix, they're waking up.
Yeah, they're going so out of bounds that I don't even have to say anything anymore. It's a beautiful thing.
Even the people making 14 grand a week are noticing that they can hardly handle. Mm-hmm. And I know a few people personally that own businesses around here, and they make great revenue. Obviously, they have a lot of overhead, but they still make great revenue. And they're wrecked, dude. Like, they're low key wrecked. Like, they're not wrecked on paper, but like they know they're wrecked.
Well, now here's the funny thing. Now, why is it that you're focusing on the revenue? Because you should be able to minimize or manipulate your costs to a certain degree, right? Where you're still making some money. Now, imagine things are so expensive, so convoluted that people are saying, yo, I'm telling you guys, man, I haven't talked about this like really at all because I just really wanted to know that what I was saying was true before I said it. Now, everywhere I go for the past month or 2, maybe, all I hear is people talking about prices and how it's one thing for me to be talking about it for a year, right? Because, Wales, no, blah, 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 blah. But when motherfuckers are in the store saying, damn, bro, out loud, and I mean everybody, there is no color, no socioeconomic class distinction anymore. Everybody is feeling this pocket pinch.
And they're hiding, bro.
Yeah.
They're hiding from paying for shit. Not saying they're not paying their bills, but they ain't paying extra.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, they're trying. Even me, my cable's gone. Everything gone. I'm done. I'm zero.
Well, Netflix has gone down like 70, 80% in the past quarter.
Wrecked.
So right now, why? Why is that? Well,
multiple reasons.
Yeah, multiple reasons. They thought they could play themselves while people have no choice but to take care of themselves. So 2 things. Netflix thought they could force people to pay more for subscriptions. They thought they could force people to not share passwords. And what did people do? Say, oh, we don't actually need Netflix. We got all this other shit. Cut off. Because all the things you can get on Netflix, you can pretty much get anywhere else.
It's also all the
Get on
woke stuff.
YouTube.
Like you literally can't watch a show without like being bombarded by like propaganda, which is annoying.
Yeah. I don't even take their house production stuff into account because exactly that. It's out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
Out of bounds. I mean, Netflix has multiple issues. I was just speaking about the financial ones.
It's like Blockbuster. It's like Netflix got blockbustered like they did the
Yeah.
Blockbuster. You know what I mean? They're
But
just
they did
getting
it to
blockbustered.
themselves. But they did it to themselves.
They didn't evolve enough.
No. They devolved, actually. Yeah. They went to the pinnacle, said, all right, we run this bitch. Guess what? We're going to tell y'all what to do, what to watch, what to think. False.
Wrecked.
Yeah. And now they're down 70-80%. Good job, Hastings.
Open market, baby. Hey, anyone can make that shit happen. That's not like some big monopoly, you know. People can make that shit happen nowadays. I feel like as far as a some sort of platform.
They dropped worse than your favorite shitcoin. You know, like it's hilarious.
Dude, that's crazy. I mean, imagine all those wrecked people that are still talking like they know what the fuck they're doing, and they own stuff like that, and they'll defend the government and those stocks till the end of time, saying everything's done the right way. And they have never looked into it one time or even thought for a second that everything whales or like of whales kind of what just said is the truth. They all know it deep down. They just don't want to. They don't want to change their worldview. It's too hard.
It's hard, yo. Think about it, yo. How long were you doing the same thing over and over and over until you had to realize that you were just doing it wrong? Like I had to do it. Everybody, I think, comes into that point because all of us are not given this path where we're just solidly, you know, walking the right route the whole time. Like that's not everybody, you know, and I think we're more common than we think.
We got numbers, baby.
Yeah, and we got numbers. That's what I'm saying.
Guys like Wendy's, guys like Motley, guys like you. These are powerhouses, dude.
Yo, I look up to guys like Wendy's and Motley's because they're younger than me and they've achieved more.
And they're motivated, you know.
They're motivated. I wasn't motivated like that when I was Motley's age, yo. I was
2 years ago, I couldn't get out of my fucking bed.
That's what I'm saying. I was trying to figure my fucking head out.
Dang, dude. But right when it happens, Wales, like it's crazy.
You take off.
It's crazy.
But you gotta get there. People think they can't get there, bro. That's the big secret. That's the actual secret. The secret is you can do whatever you want. It's realizing that you can. That's the hard part.
Well, now you can especially do whatever you want. I mean,
people don't realize that, bro. Look at what the people.
I saw somebody on YouTube. It was like on a gaming channel, and he was like doing this like tirade about crypto. He's like, "Oh, you think crypto is going to free us from the government or whatever? They would have banned it." And I'm like, dude, like you're just missing the point, like completely. But yeah, I mean, people just like will like do a little bit of research and they'll see like, oh, like this crypto scam, right? Like this NFT game that's like never gets finished or whatever, and then they just associate all of crypto with that. You know, it's like, okay. Like Enron was a company, right? But like Enron's not Amazon. So
correct. That's what people do though. It's funny because what happens, I was having this conversation with I can't remember who it was, but we were talking about Richard Hart and trying to do the work that we're doing by transferring crypto over to the real world, because that's what we're doing. We're trying to Trojan horse this motherfucker, basically, to put it in layman terms, because that's what has to happen, because they're not just going to say, yeah, we'll let you guys be free. Right? Like, not going to happen. Yeah. So what happens? Well, these corporate figures don't understand our world, period. You know, they think there's some guy at the top. They think there's some guy below the guy at the top. They don't understand that it's a clusterfuck of people doing what they want, how they want, when they want. And that's it. Yeah, literally. And here's the issue that is going to really just make them even more confused. Is that we're all fully capable, knowledgeable, and don't give a fuck. There's power in that.
I promise you guys, if you study this shit for 3 or 4 hours a day in real detail, you will have the upper hand on everyone. It's not very difficult. I was not educated whatsoever in any way, shape, or form.
If your motherfuckers knew me,
yeah, like
years ago.
You know what I do in my free time? I watch chemistry lectures. I watch, all the stuff.
See, this is the shit that you don't know about people.
Exactly. Like I was talking to someone yesterday, and I I follow a bunch of chemistry channels just because I just like that shit.
It's what you like, exactly.
And somebody actually popped up into the chat in one of the things I was watching that had a chemistry channel, and I like binged down on them for like 4 hours. It was amazing.
Nice.
But just stuff like that, guys. Like, imagine if you can do anything that you're good at. You can help. I'm telling you, it's all very important. There's babies. Somebody just commented. There are babies that are Hexicans now. Like, we are going to take over.
Literally.
Like, there's everyone. If you have children, educate them on this shit if they're willing. Some kids are. I would have never paid attention to the damn thing my parents said. But if you have a good relationship with your parents,
Pay attention.
Educate them on this shit. Don't just tell them about the real stuff. And like, whenever I see a father telling his kids about Hex, it's like the best thing ever. I'm like, that's the best. Like, you're the best dad. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I mean, and this is kind of what's a big driver for me, right? I sit here and I think about my past and all the crap I had to go through for no good reason. All the things we go through that are negative in life is because it's designed for it to happen that way. It's not because it's supposed to happen. So the things that happen to us end up becoming the things that have to happen to us in order for us to see what is happening. Because otherwise, we don't know it even exists. Right? Like, how do we know that all these things are happening? Because we see them happen in real time. Like, yeah, I got a cousin that when he was 2 or 3 or 4, the mom said, you know what? I can get this check pumping this kid with pills, and that's what I'm going to do. And there's nothing you can do about it, even if you do care about this kid more than I do. Then that's it. And just because the system is designed like that, it works like that here. And there was nothing you could do. And guess what? That kid ended up becoming a fucking drugged up knucklehead because that's what the mother wanted. And, how do you fix that? You cannot. They have to fix themselves and realize that they're fucked up in the head.
They got to
I already tried. This is literally talking about a cousin of mine. This is real life. This is not a made up story. I literally had this motherfucker living with me. He stole from me and everything. But this is what happens when you're fucked. Like, you got to realize it's a process. All you can do is try to help people. It doesn't mean you're going to succeed, but at least you tried, right? But eventually, that person is going to learn, yo, I was fucked up. Because this is what happens. We learn. I was fucked up too. You were fucked up too. Everybody was fucked up, right? But having these conversations is how we become better people, because somebody else is going to hear this shit and they're going to be like, damn, I'm like that now. If this guy can fucking fix himself, maybe I can too. And it's not about doing it in that point in time, but it's about realizing that you can do it. Yo, I did not know how to do math when I was 21 at all.
That's crazy.
Exactly, man.
You literally had to start learning once you finally stopped being in education.
Yep. Yes.
And that's exactly what I did. I was just so logical in school. I just didn't care. I was like, why in the fuck would I care about this? You guys know people, like, I knew guys that were making a couple $1,000s doing random ass shit within the school. I was like, that's way cooler than history class. Like, I didn't care. I didn't want to give a fuck. Like, I was messed up in the head. I was confused. I was like, I wanted to have sex. I wanted to do things like that. I couldn't focus. Like, to me,
live, bro.
Right. I just wanted to go out there and like everything was just restrictive.
Yeah.
It was just as restrict, and like for a guy like me, it was just like I would just bang against the walls until
it's not the kind of environment that people thrive in. I mean,
Maxi 0.251 on Nomics right now. Jeez, Louise, guys. How can you say free money any better than that? People, we were telling you, just do it. If you have some liquid Hex, it's a good move. I am so in love with the Maxi play. I'm obsessed with the Maxi play, dude. Like, I can't.
Well, let me help you, Jim Rat, because here's an interesting fact that most people don't realize. What is happening? Well, what's happening is that people are realizing what's going on over here in Maxi. Now, what do you think that ultimately means for Hex?
Bullish.
Yeah. People are gonna realize, hold on, this spread is too fucking wide.
Oh, dude, the spread is going to be ridiculous. When people
Yeah.
see what that spread is going to be, when it's 2x the hex price, they're going to be like, what
Mm-hmm.
am I thinking?
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing: it's gonna end up having a magnetic effect on the price of hex, because now, once the spread gets too wide, it's either sell maxi or buy hex. Why would you sell
Ooh,
maxi?
so interesting.
Mm.
I brought
And
up the question, Wales, what percentage of the maxi will never be moved?
Well, it'd be interesting to see if any of it gets moved. If people understand maxi,
But you know people.
yeah. No, I mean, look, the first days we already saw people swapping hex for maxi back and forth like it was a trade, and it's not.
So
It's not.
so ignorant. Like it's
Yeah,
so
maxi is
ignorant.
gonna really educate people in a way that no streamer could educate them about hex on. That's what's gonna happen.
And
Because
people are going to copy that business model like effing madness.
100%. And all these people thinking that hex can't go to where it's gonna go. I've been telling everybody from day motherfucking one.
And you didn't even know about Maxi.
And
Yeah.
and then there wasn't no maxi.
No,
It's just understanding that hex is what hex is. Because without hex, there is no maxi. There is no hex investment trust. There is none of these things that can use hex as a tool. Yeah, that's right. Pretty much.
It's all about them t-shirts.
Yeah. Yeah. Because what are you doing with maxi? You're saying, hey, here's a tradable T-share, or at least a claim to a piece of a T-share. That's all. It's a beautiful thing once you sit there and really understand it. A lot of people like to make it more complicated than what it is for some reason. I don't know why, but it's just a liquid stake. I mean, you don't gotta hold it for 15 years.
It's not only a liquid stake, but they just say, you know what, F with those Ethereum fees that are so rough. You know what I mean? Like, well, we'll just take those out too. Oh, wait, and we'll just add the little bit of a 4x Hedron bonus. And if you know anything about Hedron the way that I do, since I've been looking into it more the last 3 or 4 days, I'm super bullish on Hedron.
Of course, I bought. Look, yesterday I was in between buying Hadron and Hex, and I did a spread chart, and I went with the one that people wouldn't think was the one I'd go with, but math, doesn't care, so I went with Hadron.
And people
Right now, that's the better execution.
People need to wake up a little bit, in my opinion, when it comes to hearing about these things and listening to the first YouTuber that opens their mouth about it and starts saying whatever the F they want with absolutely no critical thinking whatsoever. It's very critical that you guys understand that people say whatever the fuck they want, but it's generally not the truth. And you want to understand that those people might not they might know things that, like, they might be acting stupid, in my opinion. In some, like, there's just a lot of smart guys that I think act stupid about stuff like this. And if it works out, they're absolutely rich. And if it doesn't, it's like they just leverage like them being right. If you know what I mean. And it's just
well, think about it. It's kind of like all the dumb shit we did when we were kids, thinking we were doing what was right just because we felt like it. It's kind of the same thing, because they're really just doing what they want to do. They're not doing what's best for the community.
They're doing what's best for their thought to be popularity, which will go down the tubes because they have no idea how to socially acclimate to anything.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's difficult, right? Because this is what I'll say. And, I've been thinking about this a lot. It's like, look, a year ago, we only had one thing to choose. Now we got all these different choices. And people need to understand the difference between them, right? And I think people are conflating reality with emotions, right? Because when you stop thinking based on some misconceived or misunderstood notion, right, that's what I think a lot of this is coming from, is a lot of people just, they're not really being perceptive or receptive about what's happening around them, because hex is the foundation of the future. You have to come to terms with that. Now, what does that mean? That means that people are going to start building shit around it. That's it. It's Mecca. So everything is gonna be raised around Mecca, just like you see it today. New York City, everything's raised around New York City. In your area, everything's raised around the Bay and Bmore. All
Yep.
that's how it works. Period. It doesn't matter what it is. Everything is the same. That's the best lesson I ended up teaching myself by having to teach myself a lot of things. Because all these things I didn't know when the real world came to me and asking me for that shit to be known, guess what I had to do? I had to teach myself all these things that I just never knew because I didn't know I needed to know them. I didn't put any effort into them. Maybe they weren't shown to me. Whatever the case may have been, I was just unknowledgeable about a specific topic, and I had to learn that motherfucker. Whatever it was, working out, eating right, whatever, like living,
The
being
other thing
alive.
is like, think about like back in the day, like Bitcoiners were getting all the free money, right? It was like free money here, free money
Yeah,
there. That shit's
and
all dried up.
But let me
So
ask you,
who's getting the free money now? Like
hold
we
on,
are.
Wendy's. Let me ask you. Back then, did that even make any sense to you? To me, it didn't make sense.
Not really, but I
I
was
didn't
cool with it.
understand it was copy paste. Of course, you were cool with it.
Wait, so you just mean you didn't understand as intimately the concept?
I didn't understand that it was just copy paste.
I see. Yeah, no, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't either.
It wouldn't make sense to you.
Unless our age and everyone had taught me everything, like I wouldn't have.
But here's the thing. Back then, the knowledge that was out there in regards to this stuff was so limited because we're talking like 2010, 11. Google isn't what it was, or it wasn't what it is now.
Nothing was. I mean, Jesus,
Yeah.
Instagram, and everything.
Instagram didn't exist.
No, it's 12. I think it was 2012 or 2011.
Right. In
Yeah.
11, it didn't even exist. So it's all of these things that people forget. Like people forget the world changes every day, and it changes so much faster now because of technology. And people do not put enough effort into that fact.
I forgot to call out this super chat from Bitfinesse.
word.
People are afraid of trying and getting nowhere. They shouldn't be. Trying will grow that try muscle. Poke that thing as often as you can. There's nothing but facts coming from that.
I got a story about that one too. It's crazy.
I've been poking at my insecurities and blind spots for a decade, seeing how I can get more uncomfortable and growing. That way, when I throw myself into another arena, I'm prepared. It doesn't matter the arena. You know what I mean? Like I can adjust. You know what I mean?
For sure. I mean, you have to be able to, right? And this is kind of the thing. Like, look at how we go from topic to topic. How do we understand Hex is the nexus of freedom and everything around it? Because we know what being suppressed is like. You only know the opposite of something when you experience the other extreme. It's the only way. Because the one thing that people do not like to focus on is the following, and that the world is strictly about symmetry. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, there's always going to be an opposition. There is never just a medium. There's always two sides to the coin, basically, is what I'm trying to say. There's never just the one faceted thing, right? There's what Jim Rat thinks and what Wendy's thinks and what I think. That in this scenario, there's two sides to three coins. So you have to take each one into account. You see what I mean? And that's the real world. The real world is really a big old math equation, because the more people you involve in a scenario, the more thoughtful you have to be about how you're going to execute that thing, right? And when we look at
Guys, just like that, at the bottom, at the freaking tipping point of a bear market, it still could dump lower. Bitcoin's going to dump, dudes. But anyway, like at the bottom of a bear market, 4183 T-share, just fucking punching right through everyone's melted face.
I mean, it's funny because nobody wanted to buy Hex when T-shirts were half off, right? That's where they were a month ago or a month and a half ago.
Wait
Half
for
off.
Hex to hit $1, and my brother and everyone buys it, and everyone's back on the train.
Crazy. Yep, it's gonna be crazy because they're gonna take us to 10.
Cardano on
They're
crack.
gonna take us to 5 and then 10. Thank you guys. We love y'all.
And
Somebody
thank
got
you. Like, thank you for your service. Like, can we send you something, a basket? Like,
whatever.
Yeah, like I'll send you like a gift
Because we
card.
tried to give it to you when it was free and you ain't want it.
It's like I'm trying not to accept all your money and help you get some of it, but if you're going to just give me all of it, it's okay.
Pretty much.
Like,
Thank
you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to stop you from giving me all your funds, but if you want to listen to me and join the channel and like learn and get into Twitter and stuff, like you can learn. But like guys like Wendy's are scooping up your funds with a freaking trash bag.
It's a Louis bag, not a trash bag.
It's a Louis bag.
2 Louis
It's a
bags
big
to
Louis
simulate the
Sorry,
quantity of a
I'm so
trash
used to my-
bag.
I'm
No,
used
no,
to
no.
my-
Let me help you, GRC. 2 Louis bags to simulate the quantity of a trash bag. Is that accurate, Tendies? Would you mind chiming in there?
Those
That
Louis
is
bags are
fairly
meant
accurate.
for $100
There you go.
stacks. Those Louis bags are meant for $100 stacks. So like literally, like, they're squared out at the bottom, so you can just like
Yeah,
$1,000 stacks in there.
I love the way bag. Well, those are the best looking type of bags.
This is going to be a wild week. And guys, we don't like calling pumps. We don't do any of that S here because let's be honest, that's absolute baloney. But I can tell you, Hex likes to act up in a bear market. Hex loves to get wild while in the whales probably are obviously the ones kind of like this is when Hex shows its stuff because the sell pressure, we saw that ridiculous sell pressure. It can't last forever, guys. And it doesn't matter if it does last longer a little bit. It doesn't. Because, I mean, Jesus, look at what's going on.
Yeah, it's not forever. I mean, what's interesting is that we've talked about this for a while. We knew at the end of April, this was the time. That was it. We just looked at the staking information and that let us know. This information is publicly available. All you got to do is look. So anybody and everybody could have made this call if they decided to look at the data. I mean, this is why I made all those charts. Everybody loves to look at the wrong information. That's just a fact of the matter. This is why I rarely even know what the price is because that's not what matters. What matters is how many people are using the network, how many people are engaging the network, how many people are actually liking the network, how many people are succeeding by using this network. You know, is this network actually serving a purpose? Like these are the things that matter because this is what actually brings people to the table. It's not a marketing campaign. I'm sorry. It's really not. We can do that to raise awareness. And that's what it's about.
Oh, I mean, you're being friendly. Even that's friendly. Even
and that's being friendly because at the end of the day, we're spoiling our riches because we're going to end up making less over time by growing this pie out. Because that's what dilution is. That's exactly how every security that's ever existed has grown from no cents to hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's how it works through dilution of share size.
Oh, okay. So you mean in general, just like
just in general. Because what's happening when people come into the system, they're getting a slice of that T-share rate, right? They're getting a slice of that share pool. I mean, that T-share pool, meaning they're paying for T-shares and earning interest or earning yield from the system,
which are running out.
That means that there's less to go around because there's more people in the pool, right? You think about it like a watering hole that slightly expands when people come, because that's really what it is. Because the T-share pool isn't static, but it can only grow but so much because there's only but so much economic mass available, right? And a T-share costs $4,000. So somebody got to come with $4,000 just to attain a unit of yield, right? 1 unit of yield costs $4,000. Okay, and that's how people in the real world are going to look at it, because that is how it's going to be given to them, because that's going to be the easiest way for them to understand the T-share aspect of the system apart from the price of Hex. So that is a reality that people are going to have to contend. And that's when you talk about a B share, what's a B share worth? Well, $400, because you divide that
dude.
or $4,000, sorry, because you're dividing that 4,000 by 1,000, so it's $4.
$4, yeah. But still, dude, imagine $4 B share,
But
60-cent T shares,
exactly
$4 B shares.
Exactly.
What madness world are we living in? I have been in Hex as of May 1st for 1 year, and it has been the absolute most incredible, freaking knowledgeable learning year of my life. These concepts have been cemented into my head forever. And so the one downside to Maxi and stuff like that, and the only downside is that it ratchets up the T-share price fast. So if you don't have enough T-shares, that's going to be counterproductive for you. That's the only thing that is negative about it.
Yep.
Which it just basically means you're just going to get more money. But if you don't have a position, then you should work on that.
So it's like a dance, right? Because over time, the T-share rate goes up, meaning over time, the cost of a T-share goes up, meaning over time, it'll be less affordable to those that are not paying attention now.
Yep.
However, that is just very basic, right? That's the very most basic way of looking at the system. Once you peel that layer back, there's other layers below that. The next layer is, well, what's actually happening with the system? What are we accounting for? Why do we care that we missed the T-shares when they were 60 cents? Well, here's the cool part. Just because T-shares cost 4,000 doesn't actually mean anything, because the system didn't stop working when T-shares hit 4,000, right? The system is still paying you, is still calculating when people are ending their stakes, is still recalibrating to a higher T-share rate over time. It is still allowing new entrants to enter the system, meaning anybody can enter and earn yield. There is not a barrier to entry. And the best
That's
part
insanity.
is, yeah, exactly.
In reality, if you know about finance,
Yeah.
like you need $1 million to get in at the beginning of a project before crypto.
Precisely.
Which is
Not true.
people don't get that. People don't
Yeah.
get that we're venture capitalists within our own room now.
Yes, literally.
I gotta go, boys. It was good
All
talking
right,
to you guys. Till next time.
Peace, man.
Wendy's, I hope you have a wonderful day, brother.
You too, bro.
So yeah, that's basically it, right? You got to sit there and kind of think about what you're doing, because there's going to be a consequence to that act, right? And in crypto, it's a low risk act, because you could take $50 and really turn it into 5,000. It's not far fetched, and that's kind of the thing that drives people towards crypto, but they also don't understand how exactly that's possible. And this is why people get wrecked. This is software. That's very important to understand. So once you peel that first layer back of what Hex is and you realize, okay, there's still a little bit more here. What else is going on? Well, the system is paying people based on this rate. But what is this rate? Where does it come from? Why does it matter? Right? And that's the next level of trying to understand Hex, because there's another level below that. And that's, well, how does that even interact with the system? When somebody's buying a B share, a T share, or whatever share, what are they actually doing? They're saying they want to earn some yield. That's all. And once people realize that, and that they can earn yield based on what they put into the system, you muted, bro. It changes the equation a little bit. Go ahead.
I was just saying thank you to somebody. But yeah, I wish people knew, I've been digging into finance so much and learning from guys like you. It's like learning, when you find that content that's good and you binge it, you're going to learn a lot.
You're going to learn it, a lot quicker.
Over a year.
Bro, why am I doing the content that I do? Because I wish I had it.
Yeah.
I wish I had it. I'm giving the content I wish I could have saw when I was learning.
That's a good point. I never thought about it that, but that's the truth, right? This is just what we wish we had it and for free, which is really good value. If you think about a value prop,
everybody wants
5
to learn.
years, 3 years learning how to F up in bodybuilding. I learned, and I took 2 years now, I learned how to F up in crypto. And that's just but it's cool because you're
noticing that.
Yeah.
But you're noticing the theme. The more subjects you traverse, you're going to notice that's the theme if you stick with it long enough, because you have to learn how to play the game first. And every field has the rules are a little different, right? Every game, every field you go play in is going to be a different industry, different this, different that. So it's going to be a little different every time. But overall, it's always the same. Now, I got a little story to share in regards to what you stated earlier about going from one thing to the other, because I want people to understand that our society frowns on that. But why? Why? Because, like I said earlier, guys like us don't have our path laid out for us. You're muted, bro. You're muted.
Most confusing path in history.
Yeah, for sure.
I could have never in a million years assumed what my life would have looked like ahead of time. I just couldn't have. It was an impossible amount of variable.
Period.
Some people are like, their parents are real, and my parents are awesome, by the way. But like, they're just like, hey, you should do this, you should do that. My dad was should do something.
But here's the thing, you know, we didn't grow up in a world where it was like, here's everything you'll ever need. All you have to do is this. The thing is that the people that frown on us are the people that had that life. It's contradictory.
It's interesting because the difference between my situation and some other people's is that like I was more so a victim of like just absolute mental health terror
Mm-hmm.
for years, and what like my life could have turned out a lot of different ways if I didn't have a couple different doctor's appointments. Like I'm saying, like for the negative, like whenever I went to the doctor, something fucked up happened because I was taking another medication. I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Like if they just let me be, I might have been a little bit faster, if you know what I mean, to like for my brain to kind of mold. But I was backed up like a fucking spider monkey all day long to the point where I couldn't think straight. I was horny, not horny. Like, you know, those medicines, they mess with your libido as well.
They mess with your hormones, bro.
While you're
and hormones. Do you know what hormones are? They're like your fucking levels.
I know everything about hormones, man.
Yeah. So that you understand that they're like if you're looking at a sound mixer, that's what hormones are. They're controlling everything coming out of you.
It's wild when you really get into it.
Ridiculous. And what do? They jack us full of shit to fuck with our hormones. They pump us full of shit to fuck with our hormones. That's what they do in all aspects possible.
And they misinform you about how those drugs actually work. Like when I inform people about Adderall now, people that do like to use it, and I do inform people that they can use it responsibly if they'd like to. I don't really suggest it to anyone, but 5 milligrams 3 times a week is going to be a lot better than 43 times a day.
Something to consider, right?
Right. Rather than telling me on the bottle, when I'm 12 years old, they wrote on the bottle, you must shove this in your mouth twice a day. No exceptions. It didn't say like skip a day. It didn't say like you can have extra. It said like you have to take it every day.
You know,
and I remember throwing it in the gutter. I remember throwing it in the gutter as a kid, like some days, because I just didn't. Yeah, like, and I didn't even know what it was. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't even like that was so intuitive to me. Like, this is weird, but like again, I was studying better, so it was like, you know how the fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
It got me to do what I wanted, and I thought that was the right thing.
Correct. And that's the
Nardo won for the win. Great conversation right here. Yeah, I'm having a really good time.
Nardo.
Thank you for being in here, Nardo.
Nardo should be having this conversation. He's one of these guys that's like us.
Anyone wants to come in? Nardo, you want to come in? I'll shoot you a link right away.
Yeah, because he definitely, he's another person, right? He's a mechanic. I started my childhood, I was a mechanic. That's all I used to do was work on cars. Went into the military. Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yep. Went into the military to be a mechanic of sorts. Ended up becoming a power plant mechanic. And that really ended up entailing being a mechanic for all types of vehicles, engineering on down, meaning big Tonka trucks on down, like leveling, like all kinds of shit, hydraulics, air brake. Oh man, I've done too much crap. So eventually I got overworked to the point that I no longer wanted to be a mechanic. So that's why you never even hear me talking about cars.
Same with me, dude. I was a dog trainer at some point. And I can't fucking stand dogs.
Yep. I pay to get my fucking car work done. I've been overworked. I'm done. I'm tapped in that respect.
I would love a dog, but if a dog restricts me in any way, like I can't do it. So, and I know dogs restrict you. So,
right, they do.
Period.
Yeah, they do.
And that's it. That's the only thing about dogs. I love
them.
Dogs,
but you
I gotta move, baby. Like if I get a business opportunity and I got to, I'm out.
You got to take that dog into consideration. Like, can they travel a certain way and all this? It gets complicated. My sister got a dog, so I see the shit from far away. It's
but
weird.
Dogs are great.
They're the best.
You feel great when you're playing with a dog and they love life, and it's, you know, you can see it like, because when in our best moments we're like that, you know, like in our best moments, you know, where it's just like they just don't have all the negatives that comes with being a human, but we get all the resources that comes with being a human too.
That's it. Yeah, that's literally it. And I think that's kind of why their default is just you know, constant happiness and then sadness when you're not around, because they just want companionship. They don't care about like fancy, all that fancy stuff. They don't care about none of that. Favorite car. Good question. There's so many good ones. I'll give you my favorite muscle car.
Ooh.
Yeah. This is kind of a tough one too. But I'm gonna go ahead with a '69 Charger. Yeah, that fucking shit is hardcore.
I know less about cars than the average 7-year-old.
Oh man,
I'm like one of those guys. I'm like the gym rat who
okay.
drives the Civic, who just is just like, I can't think about the car.
Whatever.
Like,
Does it work? Good enough. Yeah. I get it, bro, and that's fine.
Different tax bracket, I might think different as well. You know, like
right.
It's just my priority.
But that's the thing. You know, cars were like a hobby, not a necessity. You see, I used to read about them, like, oh, you know, one day I'll get this, I'll get it. In New York, you don't need no cars, bro. Like, why would I know about cars? This is a hobby. Now, of course, kids did race them and all that out here, but I wasn't into all of that. I was into baseball, so I never really cared about that. But then, you know, once I had the drive and all that, of course, that changed a little bit. And then that's when I actually learned to be a mechanic and all that BS, like real, not like as a kid, which is a different level. But, you know, you still do the work and all of that. But when you can tell a car is messed up by smelling something or by hearing something, you know what the hell you're doing, right? Everybody can't just do that. But again, how do you get to that point? Putting in work. That comes from putting in work. Nothing, you don't get good at anything by not doing it. And this is the hard thing, this is why people that don't want to watch my streams, for example, this is why they are going to fail. Because they think that they're going to learn what I have to offer in 20 minutes. You're not. I don't give a fuck who gives it to you in 20 minutes.
There's too much social nuance.
Too much. Yeah, there's too much to connect. You know, it's layers that we're peeling through to give this story. Layers.
Hours of layers.
And really, if you look at my 100+ fucking YouTube streams, there are literally an encyclopedia of what's going on.
Yeah, I watched them.
They're an encyclopedia of literally what's going on, how we got here, where we were, what is actually what, like all these different things. I'm literally exposing everything. And people think that they're going to get that in 20-minute increments. And you're just not. You're going to get the Cliff Notes. And that shit is not paying the bills. I'm sorry. There's not a single motherfucker on this planet paying the bills off of Cliff Notes. Not unless they're the guy selling you Cliff Notes.
those guys can do it sometimes. Those guys are trickier, but they have to hide. They have to hide in the corner.
That's the problem.
I'm never will hide in the corner.
Because I'm not talking about getting away with it. I'm talking about being able to execute.
Yeah.
Fully above board, you know, no questions asked type of thing. Like, you know, you can run this crypto fitness challenge and not even think about it. Just like I can jump on a stream and talk for 24 hours and not even think about it. It's the same thing, brother. Because just like you sleep, eat, breathe shit, that I eat, sleep, breathe this shit. And it just happens to be that everybody needs it right now. That is all. There's going to come a point in time where people are going to be financially free and whales is not going to fucking matter. And neither is anybody else that knows about this shit. Because guess what? There are no longer going to be any issues to be aware of. But what's going to matter is, well, we need to learn how we got here and ensure that we never get to this point again. That's going to be the change in the tone of the conversation. Right now this is what's been happening. This is how we got here. That's what the conversation is right now. But then it's going to have to evolve, right? It has to. Because then it has to change. Then you don't need people like me saying, wake the fuck up. What's wrong with you? Da, 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 da. I'm not needed anymore. You need another guy. That's a reality. Somebody that takes it forward to the future, da, 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 da. You know how that shit goes. Everything happens in stages. And that's reality. You know, you got to be aware. That's how you find success, man. And I'm aware that I'm just passing on by, doing my part. And that's all I'm trying to do.
I don't want people to be fooled about like a lot of the ways that, and you talk about this a lot, like some of the advertising opportunities that Hex has to offer. And I'm not saying this for everyone, but a lot of the time it has a lot to do with personal popularity, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to put my face on something big and then I'm going to become big, right?
Yeah.
That's not how it occurs, okay? Like,
Mhm.
and in my opinion, at least, like it occurs from the day-to-day interaction with the people that really like you. And then you can grow from there because you need support and you need people and you need, but not, I mean, how flimsy is like 3 hours in person these days? Like I study for 4 hours a day in my room with a coffee. You think that which one's more efficient?
Right.
It's just like we have to teach people how to learn
Mm-hmm.
because
That's a big
they're
thing.
that's what I do here. I'm showing them by what I do. Sam taught me how to learn about bodybuilding and all this random stuff we did before, and now I'm translating it, right? And from
Mhm.
all the things I've learned in my life, I'm translating it right here because it's clear as day to me. This is one of the friggin' phoniest friggin' things I've ever seen in my life to a degree because a lot of people don't know what is actually. Well, it's I don't even want to say don't know like I know. They don't know because they're not willing to
They're just
know.
not aware. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
yeah.
It's we can say they don't know, but it's a combination of not knowing because they're not aware because they actually do know, but they're trying to stay unaware. Like, remember how you were. This is what I always do. I really try to remember how I was to try to understand other people and put myself in their shoes. But what pisses me off are the guys that know that they're hiding. Shout out to you, Bally.
What up, Brand? How you doing? You're the freaking man.
I got to stream with Valiant, man. I haven't streamed with Valiant since like I first started streaming or something like that. Like it's been forever. Yeah.
Valiant's so busy dropping fat dollar. No, you
I know. He's too busy being
No,
rich to fucking
that
stream
dude's
and
the
shit.
first one to comment on every single one of my videos. Like literally comment. And I'm
Yep.
like, dude, you're the man. Like,
Yep.
what? Like, dude, like it's just so cool to have people that truly care about the community because Brand truly cares about the community. Like,
Dude,
period.
I say this all the time. Why am I still streaming? Because I clearly do not care about streaming. I clearly don't care. I make it clear. I
Yeah.
frankly do not give a shit. So why do I keep doing it? Because everybody wants me to. Everybody cares about what I have to say. And I understand that the information I have is pertinent to everybody's existence.
Well, it won't get anyone hurt.
Well, right.
Well, that's the main thing. Like value prop aside, like there's lots of people online, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not ruining people's lives.
No, I'm
You're
trying to help.
at a baseline, at the bottom baseline, someone who turns into you and doesn't know shit and doesn't even care who you are or anything, they're not going to get ruined.
No, precisely.
And that's the people that I support. It's like I know what it's like to jump into a YouTube stream and make a financial decision based on that.
Right.
I've done it. I bought
Right.
Celsius. I bought Polkadot. I bought Solana Summer.
But
Fucking
hold on.
Solana
Talk about what happens after that. What happens after that is that you're just constantly searching and searching and searching and searching and searching for that corroboration after you've made that decision that was based on somebody else's whim. Because it wasn't your decision. You just clicked buy or sell because somebody else said click buy or sell. What up, Molly? And that's important to understand because we have to make our decisions when we are sitting behind our desk. You know what I mean?
Nardo, how are you doing today, brother?
Doing just fine. How about yourself?
What's going on, Nardo?
I'm doing fantastic. What do you think about this combo?
It's a dynamic duo at the moment. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed.
Now it's a trio, man. What do you think about all these? What do you think about Hex moving forward in general? Like the net, as we move forward, right? Like there's guys like Wales, there's guys like me. Like we're pretty consistent. People are gonna know what we're about. But there's so much noise, right? There's so much noise. Is it just a free for all?
Yes and no. The ones looking are the ones that's going to win. I mean, it's kind of that simple, but the best things I've had to do in my life, as a collision tech, just sitting in my toolbox, I had to watch everything happen. and come up with my own conclusions. So I don't know if I answered that to the way you wanted, but
That's really how it works, though.
I know it's unfortunate that it's not more poetic, but for everyone who's
Right.
no, but for everyone who's done it, that's the truth. It's just like it sucks. Like
Mhm.
when I tell people like 45
Right.
minutes of cardio, they're like, that sucks. I'm like, yeah, it kind of sucks.
yeah, a lot of this stuff was like, you're doing something for the first time. I compare everything to cars because that's where my wheelhouse of knowledge is. But like sometimes you have a tool in your hand and you think you know how to use it, and then all of a sudden, like you're watching another guy across two stalls over, he used a tool with a completely different way you've never seen before. So that's similar to Wendy's and what you guys were talking about with liquidity providing and all these other things. Who knew that the tools could be used like this? And you won't know until you're watching.
Right. And I think it's important just to like promote learning, like to a degree.
Correct.
Like it's just like that learning thing. It's like, yeah, I sacrificed $200 to Mintra because I need to learn it because I'm a streamer. But I told everyone that $200 was a very small portion of my bag personally. Like, so it wasn't a big deal, right? Like that could be $1,000 to someone, $100,000 to someone. It doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you want to learn really in depth, you kind of have to learn the market, right? Like you don't have to learn about NFTs in particular, but you have to understand that, there's a minting protocol. I mean, there's a staking protocol on Mintra where you can earn pulse or whatever, you know what I mean? Like all that stuff, it's very important, but it's so nuanced. Like at a point, it's like, I don't even see too many people really digging in as far as it can go, but maybe that's just every industry, right?
Yeah, you got to participate. That's how you're going to learn. Regardless of what anybody tells you, you're going to know more just out of your own participation and you not wasting your time.
Brand with this $33 super chat. Nardo in the house. Much
What
love.
up, B?
Much love, Nardo. We also got a lot of love from Thoschild saying a bunch of alpha males up here. Good to see you, Thos. You're the man.
Word.
Cool. A lot of kings in this MFer run now. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the truth. We're changing the world. We're going to change it one step at a time, guys. GRC. Oh, yeah, Thos. You want that link, boy?
Oh, I'll send it to him. I got him right here in,
please do.
in my Twitter. Yeah. It's easy for me.
You want me to start?
So GRC, can we talk about why we're going to change the world or how? Because I think the answer is really easy.
Let's do it.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we want to.
Correct.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got nothing else to do.
Nope.
It's really that simple.
People can say whatever they want about my life, what I've chosen to do. I ain't
Doesn't
got
matter.
shit. I ain't got shit to do,
matter.
baby.
Yo, do
I
you
ain't
know
got shit to do but this?
when my sister's realizing what's going on, she is so fucking proud of me.
Good.
Do you understand how that makes me feel as a grown ass man?
Goosebumps.
I don't think Yo, it's crazy. I'm high as fuck today.
It's a beautiful thing, man.
Mhm.
I'm glad you get to enjoy it, marinate that shit.
Yep.
Because the hate that we took for probably a third of our lives.
Mhm.
I mean, that's some things that
My
I
whole
struggle
life,
with.
really. I mean, it's only really the past few years that people are really understanding people like us.
It's crazy too. It's crazy when it starts to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then even like myself, I wanted to change the business game in my region where I'm from, because I saw these corporations doing different tactics, like having a Dunkin' Donuts, a Speedway, and a Baskin Robbins all in the same thing.
Right.
And I'm trying to tell my people we have to do the same things, or you won't be able to pick up the pieces when Humpty falls off this wall. And it's important to keep your region, combating the corporations.
That's true. I sent it to you on your Twitter, bro. Just so you know.
He sent it to you on your flip phone.
Oh, right. I'll be right back. Let me get some water.
So, Nardo, you've been watching the show for a while, man. I mean, you think I got something going on here? I'm not trying to flood anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of hard, that fine line between like keeping everyone happy and also providing content that I think is valuable,
Yeah, I mean, you attracted me, as an individual that's always trying to help out everyone that's spreading our message. next thing you know, I become a fan. And I started doing my workouts usually like at 9. I was an early bird, right? Well, now I started doing it as a second alarm when you start streaming. I have things in front of me that are telling me like, hey, bro, I know you did your walk today. I know you've been eating good, but still do another 15 push-ups out of nowhere or 15 crunches, So,
Make it a part
yeah,
of your life. It's amazing when people are there with you. You're doing it as it's a goal, right? Like it's a goal.
it is.
It's amazing to have goals in your life. Like having goals in your life, whether they're monetary or not. A lot of my goals, guys, aren't monetary. Like, and I mean, I'm going to be extremely wealthy, I assume one day, but like all my goals are just based on things that I want to do. And like money kind of comes afterwards if you really care, because if you really care, no one's going to outwork you.
Yeah. And I was in a bad place for probably about 10 years before I found Hex.
Oh, wow.
So,
Tell me about it.
well, as a collision technician, I'm in the Bondo dust. I'm in the primers. Everybody's doing their own thing, right? So at some point when I realized that the American dream was gone from me, I just kind of accepted it. I never quit smoking cigarettes. I stopped wearing air mask. I thought it was best, hell, I'll just go out from natural causes from my work environment instead of actually trying to be healthy. So, this was a big deal for me over these last 2.5 years of getting this steady wake up call. And, now over the last, 2 months is where I'm trying to be healthier. So, I had to let go of this poor mindset that I've had because I was in a poor environment. And then on top of it, the people around me pretty much just made fun of me the entire time because I was a pretty smart guy in a dumb field.
That's frustrating. I know that. I was a tower climber and a cell technician for a long time.
Yeah.
And all my guys were not super stoked about my vocabulary. Let's just say that. And that was the only thing that triggered them. It was my vocabulary. Like I talk to a lot of smart people all the time. I listen to a lot of videos, and I picked up an extensive vocabulary over the years, I guess. And they would want to hurt me physically when I would say a word that was just weird to them.
Correct.
You think we're stupid, motherfucker? And I was like, oh shit, here we go. I'm the one driving the fucking car too. It's like these guys are all 10 years older than me. It's like, you know what I mean? So it was a very aggressive environment. Like,
Definitely.
Aggressive. When people were fighting, like we were 300 feet up in the cold, in the rain, in the snow, in the hot, in the normal days, like just clicked onto some metal thing while the crane's like wrapping around our heads. Like, it's just a crazy environment, and going through stuff like that and like stuff like you're going through too. Just like, I didn't know if I'd ever make it out of that situation. Personally, I didn't.
Correct.
I had no idea I wouldn't be doing that until I was 40. People told me I should.
Yeah. I mean, it's like most of the individuals I worked with, they all died in their 50s because of exposure to the chemicals. So, I only got X amount of time left. What up, Chop?
Dude, what is up, brother?
What's going on, bro?
You're looking swaggy with the camo, bro.
Let me get this.
No,
Yeah.
there
we go.
Got
My bad.
I can hear you, man.
Am I good?
Yeah,
good.
that's fine.
Okay. Sorry, I had the YouTube stream going over top of the StreamYard. How you guys doing?
That's fine.
Good, man. How about you?
Good day to be alive. Exciting time.
Dude, look at your face right now, dude. You're glowing like a freaking.
Yeah, he is.
Dude, you're giddy
what?
and glowing. Look at you, man.
It's like whenever,
Dude, I love your
whenever-
energy. I don't even know what you're about to say, but you're just
Right. Go ahead.
whenever I see a certain combination of hexagons together, I get really fucking geeked. I get really giddy. So when I see whales, and then I see Wendy's, who I got to stream with, and then we see GRC, who's been the shining example of the pearl of persistence in our community this year. And then that's enough to get a motherfucker geeked. But then my man Nardo comes in, and then I see Mott's, and then I see Bran. I'm just like, if Kinetics was here, that would be it, man. My head would just
Dude.
blow clean off my shoulders because these guys are all the reasons why I didn't just come into this thing as a peripheral entity who just kind of hung on the outside. These guys specifically are the fucking reason that I jumped into this community with, you know, my face. That was a big deal the day I was on Whales, and I just decided, okay, click, I'm going to turn the camera on this week. You know, that's it. Doxed for life. You're sold. You're all in, you know?
Yeah.
And each of these guys represents a different facet in this thing, which also represents a facet of my growth, okay, as a man and as a father and as a motherfucker who's staying half sober.
Hey,
can
I'm also half
A lot of
sober.
elements. Yeah, a lot of elements to this. But Nardo, I met when I brought the road tour to Philadelphia. That was me that did that because I saw their roster and they weren't coming through Philly. And I was like, how can you do a US tour and not come through the city where the country was founded? So I got that going, and I got to meet a lot of good people that y'all know, like A-Bit and Patrick and Black and Nardo. And Nardo, he grabbed me, he took me aside and he grabbed me and he said, brother, we want you in this. We want you opening your mouth. I want you proactive. And at the time, it's hard to describe without getting too personal what that meant to me. And this is at the same fucking time that, to me, I'm sorry, I ain't trying to gas you up, motherfucker, but to me, the preeminent Hexican is personally messaging me saying, yo, motherfucker, I like the way you talk. Come on my show. And I'm like,
Yep.
what is happening right now? Like, this is like all of a sudden I got fire in my belly. And at the exact same time it's happening with Nardo and Wales, Motley throws me some props. And then Brand throws me some props. And it's like fucking, and then Kinetics, the eye of Kinetics, the conduit, throws on me. And he's giving me lists of things for me to do in Hexico. And I'm like, yo, I woke up one morning, I was like, yo, I bleed motherfucking Hexican. And I just wanted to come on your stream real quick, GRC, when I see all these kings assembled together. I just wanted to testify. This ain't no cult. This is the exact opposite of what a cult is. This is apex critical deductive reasoning, and men and women who have overcome mad, stupid, crazy life difficulties, discipline issues, obstacles of every stripe in our lives in order to be gathered here today towards this one fucking purpose, man. And we are behind you, fearless leader Richard Hart, and we give you deep thanks for everything that you've given us, man. It's onward and upward.
That was incredible.
Yeah, man, I knew you needed to see this.
That was incredible, man. And I felt the exact same way. All I did was tweet that I had staked Hex 555. I think it got 300 retweets. And I said, what in the heck? I had about 10 Twitter followers. I said, what the hell is this crap? Like, and I already bought the stuff. And I was like, what is this? And then, you know, I was already into Richard Hart, but then once the algorithm and the community got a hold of me, I was transformed immediately. Right. It was overnight. It was overnight. I mean, once I learned what the T-share was and I had my position in and I was getting the love from the community, I said, we found the best community in the world here. Number one.
I think so.
Period. I mean,
I had
crazy.
1 foot in the grave, man. I ain't ashamed to say I probably had 1 foot in my own grave. You know, I would eat pain pills like they were chiclets after being a contractor for, you know, a decade and a half, carrying double sheets of drywall. My spine was twisted up like a pretzel. And, you know, that people were like wasted talent. You know, the guy can talk, the guy can write, the guy can speak, but you know, he just swung a hammer for the last decade and a half. And now I find myself a broken, you know, depressed father of 4 innocent young kids. It was like, man, can you say Hex in the nick of time?
Yeah.
Hex.
Literally. But
Yeah.
that's what's beautiful, right?
Oh yeah.
We're diving into one of the most transformative periods in the history of finance. And we
History of
are
In the
humanity.
world. In
and
the
we're
world.
covering it daily.
Yeah,
In
humanity.
the world, DOC. Yeah.
It's
In the whole
absolutely
world.
freaking.
I mean, look, I can see a future where it's just a bunch of coupe fucking cars, fucking hex, pulse chain, blah, 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 plastered all over them.
Yep.
And it's
It's
just,
coming.
just because we feel like it and we can. It ain't even to flex or nothing. It's just to pump it. Because probably on any other point in time, you're pushing that Honda anyway. You don't even care. But you're gonna ride around on the weekend and pump that hex bag though.
Have to.
Or
Man, I
whatever.
have a bunch of relatives and onboards who were like, they saw what Hex was doing when they came in, and then it stopped doing it, and it just chill out and went into this accumulation consolidation. And one by one, they're starting to go, oh man, I guess it's over. Oh man, I guess this ain't all it was cracked up to be. My brother said to me 36 hours before the last pump started, he said, man, I'm gonna have to back up out of this thing, man. This is just too much, dude. It ain't doing nothing. I don't think it's gonna be doing nothing. He
Perfect timing.
he dropped that. He dropped out and pulled back a little bit. Within a day, the shit goes.
Bananas.
I said, yo, man, you got to tell me you're quitting more often,
Word.
motherfucker.
My mom's been checking out her sticker app lately, and she's finally proud of her son because it went up a little bit. I'm like, Mom, you can be proud of me now. She's like, it finally went up with like the most smug look ever. I'm like, she looks at me, she's like, finally went up, Hex, and I'm like my whole life passion is like behind this, and I'm like, I'm out of here.
Is he even staked?
You ask these guys like Nardo and Motley and Brand what the hell they've been through in the last 2.5 years. It's like nothing shocking, man. You know, like you got to pay attention, motherfucker. It ain't always going to be
10,000 X guys like Brand, guys like all you guys here, everyone that's been in, we're all still here, so it doesn't really matter. We've all decided that when we bought Hex, we wanted to stick around there for after.
If it could go sideways for 2 years, I'd still be right here, baby.
T-shirts still sideways for a decade, and I'd still be making more money than everyone I know because none of them understand not everyone I know, but you know what I mean, like online, like making revenue online for nothing, right? No overhead. Like people create businesses for a decade, blood, sweat, and tears to do what we do with 7 clicks.
Literally.
Yep. I like clicky buttons.
Who's winning? I mean, we're right. We don't have to ask. There's no ask. Before I never knew I was right. Now it's just automated code. And it's just like,
that's amazing.
I found the thing that fits my personality to a T. Like I found it. Like I needed this my entire life. I was addicted to gambling for 365 days straight. And I'm surprised I wasn't dead after that. And I was sober the whole time, 100% sober. Imagine me every single day studying gambling for 12 hours to win 14,000, lose 21,000, win 25,000.
I've been there.
And I'm thinking that I'm smart.
Yep.
I'm in the moment thinking that I'm outsmarting other humans, and I'm literally feeding motherfuckers money.
Yep.
And that's the delusion that I was in while I was watching sports for 6 hours a day.
Yep.
I tried to give as many comparisons to my my own degenerate gambler friends, and they just could never see it. That instant gratification, everybody has to work on that.
Mm-hmm. That's why they couldn't see it, Nardo. They
Correct.
didn't want to.
Yep. And it hurt me for a long time because I couldn't figure out what I'm doing wrong to get my message across, because I truly care for these individuals, and I had hoped that they'd work for me one day, but they still don't, man. So
Richard laid it out about Texas Hold'em poker. I spent a lot of my time at Texas Hold'em tables, and when I heard that Richard dissertation on poker as a zero-sum game, that was it, man. It just broke right through, man. Broke right through my shell, and I was like, God damn, he is so right.
Yeah,
like GRC just said, I would win a tournament over a weekend in Atlantic City and I'd make 9, 10, 11K, but then I'd lose it like I hated making it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that.
Trading is just like that.
Yep. And then you really don't have anybody to enjoy your win with.
Nope.
When you're doing those private things like that, you don't have a community at all. I found more value in selling people Mountain Dew at my toolbox or ordering 10 pizzas, hey guys, $1 a slice, than I did off any scratch off ticket, because I like a little bit of guaranteed money, and then I like the personal gains of the community or catching up on conversations. So yeah, I mean, you would never find me at the gambling place, but I'd be at the buffet.
Getting it in.
Yeah, when everybody done spending what they spend,
that's a really good
we can
point.
go home. Yeah,
Nardo, that's a really good point, my man. I didn't even think about that.
Well, I've been to Vegas, I don't know how many times, and I still haven't done one bet yet.
Me too.
I enjoy hanging out with my
buddies.
buddies.
I had a guy who was teaching me a lot about what he knew about life around the time I came into Hexaco, and he said something really uncanny to me when I started getting involved in this community. I'll never forget it. Now, that the funny part of that story is he's now one of my onboards, okay, in the Hex. But my man, Johnny Mack, Casper, we call him sometimes, Johnny Mack, who's in the powwow, he said to me, you are stuck on Thothschild Island, he said. He said, you're stuck on Thothschild Island, and you're never going to be no good to nobody, continually operating from that lone wolf, from that lone wolf position. He said, you have more to give this world than simply that place. And that's the only place I would be in, Nardo, when I was at a poker table. I was on Ian Island. I was on Thothschild Island, Coming into Hexaco now, I'm lined up and I got my shield locked in with all the rest of y'all. So
we need each other or we're going to fail anyway. If this was all just us doing Hex, and even if the code was mutable, even if everything was beautiful, if we didn't have each other, guys like me wouldn't last.
None of us would.
I wouldn't last because, none of us would, because
me neither.
I'm not smart enough, but I know I'm savvy enough, like I'm not smart enough, but I've been taking over games for a long time now. And, this ain't no different. You know what I mean? It's just another game, right?
Hey, GRC, guys like Wales and I, man, we were ready to choke you the fuck out when you came up in this community, dude. And the funny thing is now we come to see your true character shines through. Yeah. You actually are a really street smart motherfucker, like didn't think so before, man, but it kind of shined through from you. And I'm tickled by it. I think it's fucking hilarious what you're doing, man. I say go, kid.
Well, all I have to do is study because no one else does.
That's it. Hold on. Stop right there. Stop the presses.
Yep.
Stop the presses. That statement right there. That's what I figured out. That put me where I'm at today. And it might have taken me fucking maybe, let's say 13, 14 years. Sure. But at least I got somewhere when I never even thought I was going to be alive at this fucking point in time. I'm doing my second life bid, basically. Right, Nardo? I didn't think I was going to live to be past 18, bro.
I thought 23 was it for me.
There you go.
I didn't even care. I was so depressed.
There you go. You just passing on by.
The only one who was going to kill me was probably me because I was just depressed, dude. Like I was a good-looking kid, athletic kid, and I just couldn't get out of my own head, man. I was destroyed from the inside out. Like I could not see clearly. There was nothing I was seeing clearly. And then I got sober for 6 years, and I saw clearly about some things, but it didn't open me up to everything, right? But now I see.
You gotta start somewhere. That's the hard part, yo. It took me so long, bro, to realize this. I mean, just like I was telling you guys earlier, a little story. So I went to this job interview, and it was at one of the biggest joints on Wall Street. And I know what I'm talking about when it comes to Wall Street shit. So that wasn't a question. It was more of a get to know you thing. And what they didn't like about me was how I was just never stable. My life has not been stable. I'm growing up in this rinky-dink urban environment. It's not supposed to be by design, bro. And they literally held that against me, and I didn't get the job.
I don't think alpha males ever have stable lives in some way, shape,
Doesn't
or form.
seem to be the case.
Whether it's business, yes, of course you can have a family life that's beautiful. I agree with that. But I mean, come on,
It's something that drives you.
All those homies out there that are really digging in, they're fighting, man. They want.
Well, that's a good point. But this whole system by design is meant to chew us up.
Yep.
Okay, because the alpha male is the most direct threat to the system as it fucking stands. Okay, so they design a system that's here to chew us up and spit us out. How many of my brothers are 6 feet under right now, man?
Just because of that.
9 or 10 or 11, I lost count. But
just
the system's designed to chew you up, spit you out.
Just because of that.
We ain't having it.
The laws and the punishments also fit that as well, where you'll get really smart people will get charged with RICO, but yet the people that go out and just shoot somebody, they only get 5 or 8 years. You can see it everywhere.
Yep.
And the child molesters go to jail for like 6 months.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's like I watch a lot of Skid Row interviews because I like one of the interview guys. And it's a really popular one. Some of you guys probably watch it. And I always see on there all the time, right? You see it from the other side. The homeless hookers basically are the people they're interviewing, and they tell the truth, right? They don't give a shit. They're getting paid to do the interview. And they say straight up what goes on, right? And they say straight up the guys are on feet still. And they told everyone, right? And I'm not a Mr. Feminist or anything, but I'm saying, like, come on, guys. Like, it's pretty wild, like, what they let people get away with. It's insanity, really.
Yeah. And it's by design because it's to benefit what they actually want to happen in this orchestra, so to speak. Right? Because that's ultimately what it is. Because think about it. They don't want me talking to you or Thoughtschild or Nardo because I don't look like you guys. What they want is you and me not liking each other because we don't look alike. Because that's the most obvious thing to dislike about somebody, and also allow you not to communicate with them. So it serves two purposes. And they win without even having to touch you or do anything to you. It's beautiful. It's ingenious. In fact,
the misguided youth in New York City and in Baltimore. I mean,
we were it.
They don't even know what's in front of their faces.
No clue.
They don't understand. Like,
bro,
they can't.
They line us up to go to jail, man.
Correct.
For 2 grams of weed.
Yo, for anything, it don't matter. Their intention is literally to set us up to take us into the system. That is it. Literally. Don't matter where you live. That's the design. Like, that's it.
And Wales has the point. When you look at these systems, I mean, no matter how nefarious or evil they are, you have to stand there and be like, damn, those motherfuckers did some orchestral, elegant work here, because they never accomplished simply one thing in anything that they do. Let's take case in point. They're locking up whole generations of young men in the inner cities. What do they do after they accomplish that of getting the cattle herded? They make money off their backs while they're in the Who's Scout. They got them working slave jobs for free. I mean, that's how you think the Clintons
make them get gang up.
Cash.
They make you gang up in jail too. They make you. If you're not in a gang, you're going to get your ass beat.
You're going to get fucked up.
Killed.
That's an interesting point, because out here in the world, as a free man, I was choosing to be around all my Black and Latino brothers.
Not
if I was
in jail.
If I
wouldn't have a chance.
I would not be allowed to do that. I would have to go.
You would have had to earn it. You would have had to earn it.
All over again. All over again.
All over again. Yep.
Yep.
That's reality.
Exactly.
They won't even let you speak unless you're unless you know what team you're on.
I'd be dead. Because the white dudes wouldn't appeal to me, and that'd be it.
I know so many guys that went to prison at this point for long periods of time, and when they were out, they were absolutely devastated, destroyed, and distraught.
Yep.
Just because it was so long.
Yeah, they never really had an opportunity It's kind of like the American dream once again gets wiped away, because even though you did your sentence of your time and all these things, but you're
Doesn't
still
even matter.
guilty outside.
And they have 79 fist fights under their belt by the time they get out.
Correct. So
If
like
that,
a lot of
probably more.
Yeah, like if you're lucky and you're not a bitch. Like if you're a bitch, maybe 700 because you're going to get your ass beat
that's
every day
only
when you
79 days.
Yeah.
That's only 79 days, bro.
You better learn how to beat
I'm
ass
sure there's
if you go to jail.
365 in 1 year.
Yeah.
Sam Stolt would never have to worry about a thing.
Nah, he'd be
This
good.
nose has seen 79 days. Look at
Sam
that.
would be doing
I wasn't
dips in the
born with that.
teaching people how to like carb load with their freaking noodles.
Oh man, I remember high school, bro. Wow, high school was savage. In
Yes,
high
it was.
school, oof, just because you were a freshman, you were a target. Be a bitch if you wanted to. That only made it worse.
Yep, pull your backpack from the back, or smack the
Oh,
books out your
man.
hand. You know, there was all kinds of different games.
What size are you? What time is it?
Oh, it's like
You got $1?
Damn. Right.
Oh, all these little tricks just to get you to expose yourself.
anything, right? That's why if you don't actually prepare, like if you don't prepare, it's not. There's no
You're fucked.
You're done.
Yo, imagine growing up in an environment where you got to think before you even just go outside, just to go to the store. and the store is literally like 10 feet away. Like you ain't even going far. Like you can look at that motherfucker.
You better go along the long way, or
Right.
old Scott Gardocki will be there, make you lick a white dog turd. You know, you got to take the long way.
The guys that end up on these channels are just absolute savages. Guys, real quick, if any, I want to have a similar dialogue when we do the 24-hour pulse chain stream. I want you guys to hop on if you ever have. I mean, obviously, we're all going to be busy and stuff, and I'm going to be doing a 24-hour pulse chain stream. We're going to be getting busy, just talking about stuff the whole time. You know how it is.
Yeah, I hope Sam can stick around. He always got to go. He's gonna be like, no, not today. Today, I'm clicking away.
he'll do his hour and a half. He might want to stay on. I would feel more hurt by making his sleep schedule for the first time in a decade off the clock.
It happens.
But I can't wait for guys. I mean, we're really gearing in here. Let's be honest. I don't care if it's a month. I don't care if it's 40 days.
I'm really thinking 8 days we're live. That's my best guess. Because if you look at what's happening, all you're seeing is sack updates. We know they already got the bots working.
Pushing.
We already know he got the bots working. And he's doing multiple updates a day if possible.
He's active online, guys. He's very active. I could see his shit. Like I follow all this stuff a lot. He's active. He's commenting on stuff. He's excited. He wants to hammer down those pulse chain. He's not playing games with the pulse chain sack.
You know what the best part is? The best part is that this is just the beginning.
Yeah,
ain't even live yet.
No, this is going to be absolutely electric. This is going to be life changing. Absolute. Like, guys, we're at the cutting edge of this. I have 1,400 subs on this channel. Our lives are going to be unrecognizable in a year as if you stick around and stay. But there's going to be 150 ways for you to get absolutely annihilated. And if you're not listening to Wales and these other guys and myself, I could promise you, you will be not. I mean, obviously, there's a couple other good streamers too. I just don't mention all of them.
Well, there's so many of us now, right?
All right, but like, I'm telling you, 90% of the guys want themselves to be so popular, but they don't even know how to do it. Okay. In order to be popular, you have to do things properly. Okay. So if you're doing things properly, you will become, it doesn't matter if you're good looking. Well, it helps if you're good looking, but like, it doesn't matter if you're giving out facts and alpha and all you have to do is about an hour and a half of research, 2 hours a day. If you don't have something to do and you have a brand that's working properly and you understand this stuff, I think it's important that you voice yourself online in which way, shape, or form. It doesn't. You don't have to be a streamer of any sorts, but get involved in some way. Make an Instagram account with a freaking picture of a dog and like everyone's Instagram pictures or whatever, something like that. Just get involved. This is going to happen whether you're here or not. So why don't you just jump on the train, guys? If you're watching this and you're in my community and you think I'm an absolute moron, You being correct. You're an absolute moron. Okay. I've been studying this stuff for hours on a day while you've been doing your desk job and getting wrecked by inflation. Okay. So let's do this together. We're on the same team. Guys, this has been an absolutely incredible stream. I'm going to run the promo out video. Guys, I know I just left you with the teaser. This has been awesome. Everybody, I hope everyone has a great day. We'll be here at 11 a.m. tomorrow. Peace out.
Young folks, you tripping on them motherfucker.
Richard Heart. Richard Heart. Bought my hex from the fucking start. .1 every day we mark.